What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 8 Ma, Chapter 141 Genius. This riding horse is a monster. Open black lens bracket 1/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Stealing. Steal Marine 6 styles from others. And in the end, it only took one morning to fully understand it. Have you officially learned Marine 6 styles? Am I dreaming? Sengoku's throat was dry, and he looked at Garp in a daze. He directly ignored Garp, who was in a state of extreme pride and dazzle. The truth of what Garp said made Sengoku a little horrified. One morning, first learned about Marine 6 styles, what kind of concept is this? And in one morning, first secretly learned Marine 6 styles from others, and thoroughly mastered it, what a terrifying talent to do it. Unimaginable. Even if you are taught by someone who is serious and famous, it is impossible to master Marine 6 styles in just one morning. Steal. All of this overturned Sengoku's cognition. So much so that when he looked at Garp with a proud smile on his face, he didn't react too much, but was intoxicated by his shocking emotions. This is incredible. Sengoku couldn't even imagine in his dreams that such a terrifying monster really exists in this sea. Every year, how much Marine recruit did Naval Headquarters absorb? Every year, how many Marines are put into the ranks of learning Marine 6 styles? But how many people, cats are enough to master Marine 6 styles in a year's time? Among them, to achieve the best record, it takes several months to learn Marine 6 styles. But now, what did Sengoku hear? What a morning! In one morning, I sneaked a lesson and learned the entrance of Marine 6 styles. What kind of monster can do this? Grunt. Sengoku's throat was dry, 493 swallowed, and then looked at Garp in front of him with those eyes full of horror, opened his mouth but was speechless for a while. I heard that someone used to nag the old man for being incapable of teaching. Garp smiled. Ahem. Sengoku coughed violently, his complexion became particularly weird. Speaking up. Garp, your grandson is so scary, it's none of your business. It seems that your grandson is able to do these terrible feats, and it is not due to your teaching. FFLX. What a hammer you are. Sengoku couldn't help complaining in his heart. Also, Sengoku, don't you think this is the end? I haven't finished yet. Garp looked suspicious. No way, no way. Sengoku doesn't really think he's done talking, does he? This is just the beginning. My grandson hasn't finished playing yet. How can it end? Looking at Sengoku's mentality, it seems like I can't bear it. What else do you want to say? It's not over yet, is it? Sengoku looked suspicious. It's not over yet, or, is this just the beginning? The above, isn't that the limit of your grandson, Garp? Obediently. You grandson, where did you come from as a freak? Why is a freak like you, Garp's grandson? This is not scientific. How can you Garp, how can you give birth to such a monster grandson? This is seriously contrary to common sense. Even if there is, it must be my grandson of Sengoku. Speaking of it, it's actually not a big deal. Compared with me back then, I'm much inferior. My grandson, Layfon, was just 7 years old when he mastered Conquerors and Marine 6 styles in one morning. Also, in less than half a month, from a swordsmanship idiot to a swordsmanship comparable to Marine Commodore, he can easily kill the Marine Colonel Pokato in seconds. Advertisement. At last, in just half a day, I awakened the armament hockey, and learned to master the armament hockey at a terrifying speed. And already, I can successfully use armament hockey. That's all, no big deal. Sengoku, right, in my eyes, none of this is worth mentioning. Compared to me back then, it was simply far inferior. Garp spoke more and more vigorously. He didn't notice it at all. Sengoku's dazed, dull, and terrified expression changed before his eyes. These words of Garp, like a heavy hammer, hit Sengoku's forehead hard, making his thinking become a mess. Who I am? Where am I? What am I going to do? Sengoku was dumbfounded, his eyes lost for a moment. What the hell? What did I hear just now? In half a month. From a swordsmanship idiot to a swordsmanship level comparable to a Marine Commodore. There are also armed colors. This kid, even armament hockey has been awakened and successfully mastered. What kind of monster is this stepping horse? Sengoku's mentality was about to collapse. God, how could such a monster appear in this sea? He just couldn't understand it. Each of what Garp said, taken out individually, is a terrifying event that is enough to overturn cognition. However, when these events all happen to the same person. What a lie, everything is amazing. When all these are gathered in one person. FK. Damn it, what kind of monster is this horse? All of this made Sengoku's mood extremely horrifying. His mood was like a surging ocean wave, wave after wave of crazily surging, impacting his heart. Armed color. Garp Guy's grandson, Layfon, who's still 7 years old, fully mastered armament hockey. Can anyone explain to me? What the hell is this for? Even if the talent is high, it is not so outrageously exaggerated. Sengoku's cognitive view has been directly overturned. This is beyond ridiculous. Simply unscientific. No matter how much energy a person has, it's impossible to be so terrifying, right? First Conquerors, then Marine 6 styles. Then. There are also sword skills, armed colors. Isn't this an all-around genius? Anything. The key to everything Grandmaster. Moreover, you can learn anything at a terrifying speed. This must be a joke. Sengoku forced a laugh. Joke. If it was just a joke, I would not return to naval headquarters with my grandson Layfon. Sengoku, do you think now that a marine ensign, bringing such a terrifying monster genius, is really too much? Garp's expression was full of pride. This is my grandson. How to say? Sengoku, I will ask you how to say. Not too much, not too much. Sengoku's throat was dry. It is certainly unprecedented to promote a 7-year-old child to become a marine ensign, and there has never been a similar terrible example. Not to mention a 7-year-old child, it is very rare to promote a marine soldier who has just joined the marine to a marine ensign. On this rare example, plus a 7-year-old. Advertisement. That's enough to call it. Never before. There will be no one behind. There are no similar examples at all. This is definitely the first time such a terrible example has appeared since the establishment of Marine. Originally, Sengoku still looked at Garp's face, so he chose to accommodate and wanted to break the rules. But after Garp's introduction just now, Sengoku's original belief was completely shaken. A marine ensign, if such a terrifying genius monster can be exchanged, it will be a huge profit. Is he, your grandson, really so scary? Sengoku still couldn't help expressing his doubts. The matter was so important that he had to ask again solemnly. Make sure, the truth of the matter. Certainly. I don't know enough about my grandson. Garp lifted his head, nostrils up. Readily. So cool. It's been a long time since I've been so happy. Sengoku, this old fellow, has his day too. I have to admit, Layfon is really a face to God. Let Sengoku, this old thing, be stunned. As expected of the old man's grandson, the blood of our monkey family flows. Good enough. You let me calm down. I still need a little time to digest. Call. Sengoku tried to inhale deeply, exhale deeply, to forcefully cool down his shaking heart. What happened one after another impacted his psychological endurance. Rao is the majestic naval headquarters marshal, who has experienced countless lives and deaths, and holds countless killing powers. But after experiencing what Garp said now, Sengoku's mood is still in a state of shock. It can't be calmed down in a short time. Genius. Do not. This is not just genius. This horse is a monster. Besides monsters, Sengoku can't think of another word to describe it. Sengoku, are you okay? Garp looked at the bewildered Sengoku at the moment, and couldn't help muttering in his heart. Could this old thing have been hit too hard? Are you mentally that bad? Also Marshal Marine. What a disgrace to Marine. With this mentality, how do you become a Marine Marshal? I don't have any concentration at all. What about Marshal Marine? This guy Sengoku is really alive and well. I never realized before that Sengoku has such a bad mentality. But it's really helpless. Our grandson is so good. What can we do? Is it wrong to be too good? If being too good is a fault, then my grandson Layfon, I am afraid that from the moment he was born, he himself was a big fault. Distressed. It turns out that being too good is also a crime. Blame only blame. The pedigree of our monkey family is really excellent. Speaking of excellent pedigree, then I have to mention it. These are the seeds sown by the old man. Without the old man, how could they have the talent they have today? Without the old man, could they be born in this world? What a joke. All credit to. Oh no, it is all the sins, let the old man bear it all. So, all the reasons are the old man's own problems. It can only be said that the old man is really excellent, and this group of such excellent offspring has been bred. Among the many outstanding descendants, the most terrifying is of course Layfon. Advertisement Chapter 142 Sengoku, it's time for you to consider having a baby. Open black lens bracket 2/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Let me calm down. Do not bother me. Sengoku still looked dazed. It'll take him a while to digest the horrifying things Garp just said. Only 7 years old, not only has conquerors, but also learned Marine 6 styles, and has an extraordinary level of swordsmanship, and finally armament hockey. Obediently. What kind of freak is this? The grandson of Garp seems to be a little too scary. This is still done at the age of only 7 years old. Thinking of this, Sengoku suddenly felt a little creepy. Unimaginable. A 7-year-old child actually has 18 martial arts. What else is there to learn about Grandmaster? The scariest thing is, each one is definitely not a fighting method that ordinary people can control. Whether it is Marine 6 styles, or a good level of swordsmanship, and armament hockey, these are all very difficult combat methods. Not to mention, Conquerors is a terrible tool that requires a talented person to awaken and master. But when all of these are concentrated on one person, it's still concentrated on a 7-year-old child. So, this is very shocking. It simply subverts cognition. He's only 7 years old. Sengoku couldn't help crying in his heart. 7 years old is so scary. Give the other party some time to grow up, can't you? How far can the other party grow? Can't fathom. With Sengoku's experience, he dare not infer. If this 7-year-old monster is given a few more years to grow, how powerful will the opponent be? This moment, Sengoku suddenly felt deeply moved by Garp's previous words. For example, within 5 years, it will be Admiral. These words, reaching Sengoku's heart, suddenly did not seem so unacceptable. If what Garp said is true, then Sengoku can also be 100% sure. Follow this such a fearsome monster talent. In 5 years. Maybe, It is really very possible to hit the throne of Marine Admiral. If it were the second person, Sengoku would not have such absurd thoughts. Because he has been the Marine Admiral for many years, and he clearly understands how high and powerful the Marine Admiral is. Once upon a time, Sengoku also served as Admiral. Only through personal experience can we understand how heavy the responsibility is on the shoulders of Marine Admiral. Also, how much strength is needed to act as a Marine Admiral, which is equivalent to the facade of Marine. For any Marine Admiral, if you look at the sky and sea, you are the top combat power. More than just representing Marine. Even in this sea, Marine Admiral will not be inferior to anyone. Even the Four Emperors. Marine Admiral, comparable to those monsters from the Four Emperors. One can imagine. The status of Marine Admiral, what does it represent here in Marine? But after hearing Garp's words, Sengoku couldn't help but have an illusion. That 7-year-old, that kid named Layfon, it might really work. Will be Admiral within 5 years. This is really possible. If what Garp described is true, then this Layfon's talent is so terrifying that it cannot be described and summarized in ordinary words. Garp, I gradually believe what you said. Sengoku took a deep breath and spoke earnestly. He forcibly suppressed the shock in his heart, but the many emotional turmoil remaining in his heart could never subside, and took root deeply in his atrium. Sengoku, who has experienced countless great worlds, can really feel the collapse of worldview and cognition in the face of Garp's words. The 12-year-old Admiral of Headquarters. Sengoku opened his mouth, his pupils were dilated, his eyes were dull, and he was in a trance. Incredible. It's unbelievable. Does this count as completely refreshing Marine's record? Advertisement. Do not. Much more than that. Even hundreds or even thousands of years later, Sengoku can be very accurate. There will never be another example like this. It is even more impossible that there will be an existence beyond this horrible example. For thousands of years, this is the only case. Only this one. At the age of 12, hit the throne of Marine Admiral. Sengoku couldn't even think of it himself. From a 7-year-old boy. He actually saw it. Admiral's capital. This is the first time. For the first time, Sengoku was so sure that a person can become a Marine Admiral. In the past, even when looking at Aokiji and Akainu, Sengoku didn't have such a strong premonition. But following Garp's words, Sengoku had a very strong feeling. This kid, this 7-year-old kid named Layfon, can really be Admiral. This is no joke. A monster who is only 7 years old and is already so terrifying. In time, wouldn't it be easy to hit Admiral's throne? It will work. Sengoku can be sure of that. This is also the only time he thinks so seriously that a person has the qualifications to attack Admiral. By contrast, Aokiji, Akainu, the current Marine Admirals, what kind of realm and class did they reach when they were 7 or 8 years old? Is there any comparison? No comparison. Worlds apart. Day by day, Aokiji, Akainu, Kizaru tie them all together and none of them can compare to 7-year-old Layfon. The gap is too big. This is a qualitative gap that cannot be filled with quantity. Even when I was 7 years old, I'm afraid I wasn't even worthy to carry the shoes of this brat. Sengoku thought to himself. His eyes were always high. But with the introduction of Garp, Sengoku had to believe it. Maybe this kid can really do it. Back then, when he was 7 years old, he was still wearing crotch pants. While others are 7 years old, they are already as powerful as Marine Commodore. It also has conquerors, armed colors, Marine 6 styles and many other practical means integrated into one body. That's the difference. A huge gap that can be seen with the naked eye. Such a young man, but with such a terrifying level of strength and talent. Similar example, Sengoku heard it from Garp for the first time in his life. It is the first time I heard it. Sengoku's mood will be so shocked. His conventional vision was directly broken. Conventional. Measure a monster by convention. Of course it cannot be measured. Monsters are different. Garp, this old thing. What kind of shit luck is it? This monster is actually his grandson. Sengoku looked at Garp with weird eyes. His mood became depressed, as if he had eaten a mosquito, and his mood was gloomy. In particular, seeing Garp's proud and ostentatious expression, Sengoku felt that his heart was blocked and he couldn't express his pain. I've already prepared you mentally. Seeing Sengoku's bewildered expression, Garp couldn't help complaining. As far as this psychological quality is concerned, how can I still be Martial Marine? Or an old comrade who has fought with him for many years? This mental quality is too bad. The dignified Martial Marine was shocked by this incident. How can he be decent? You really are. Easier said than done. Sengoku glanced at Garp, as if reading what the latter was thinking. Based on his years of understanding of Garp, he can initially make a conservative estimate. The terrifying strength that Layfon has now has absolutely no part of Garp's teaching. Advertisement. With Garp's abilities, it's impossible to teach such a terrifying freak. Please flowers. So there is only one explanation. That is, Layfon, born to be different. Relying on his own terrifying talent level, he forcibly cultivated his own strength to the current level at a frightening speed. Talent. In the final analysis, it is still because of the word talent. Layfon's talent is really too high. Incredibly high. This is what it is at today's level. Thus, Sengoku can draw conclusions. Layfon can have today's level of strength and has nothing to do with anyone. As for Garp, Garp teaches a hammer. What kind of P***s is this old guy Garp? I Sengoku don't know yet. Tell me, Layfon, a brat, possesses such a terrifying strength, and there are also components taught by Garp. Isn't that pure nonsense? Garp will teach people. It's not bad if you don't mistake people's children. Still counting on Garp to teach such a monster genius disciple. Joke. So, Garp, does it have anything to do with you that your grandson can have today's level of strength? Don't think I don't know. In this matter, the meaning of your existence is close to zero. That is, whether you exist or not, it will not have any impact on the monster Layfon. You're a hammer. Sengoku couldn't help shouting loudly. He is my grandson, with my blood flowing through him. Garp looked up proudly. Sengoku was speechless, so speechless. Seeing Sengoku's expression, Garp looked like a victorious rooster, with his head raised, his nostrils upturned, and his expression was full of pride and pride. By the way, Sengoku will help arrange it. Let Kizaru, the brat, take the time to teach my grandson the sword skills. After thinking about it, I really can't think of anyone who is qualified to teach my grandson swordsmanship. Here at Naval Headquarters, there is only one Kizaru left. Garp thought for a moment, then spoke bluntly. Kizaru is the most suitable choice. Although Kizaru usually relies on his own devil fruit, his sword skills should not be underestimated, and he maintains a very high level. And now, Garp also couldn't think of anyone in Naval Headquarters who had sword skills that could be used to teach his grandson Layfon, a complete freak. Have Kizaru teach your grandson Layfon swordsmanship. It's just a small thing. Sengoku thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. No big deal, he didn't need to ask Kizaru for advice. Anyway, Kizaru is also idle when he is idle, it is better to find something for him to do. Seeing that Kizaru maintains that salty and extremely lazy attitude every day, Sengoku has long wished to arrange for Kizaru to perform some tasks immediately. Well done, Marine Admiral. How is it proper to steal a chicken like a salted fish? It's time to fix Kizaru's laziness. Can you learn from Akainu? You should think about it and have a baby. Garp laughed. Sengoku looked impatient. I suggest, can you learn from Aokiji? Just before the door that is about to walk out of the office. Before Sengoku could react, Garp put oil on the soles of his feet and ran away. Garp stretched his arms, ready to turn and leave with an extremely comfortable mood. Aokiji, the brat, seems to be lazy too. Got it wrong. Not quite right. Garp, I'm going to fight you. What are you talking about? If you fart, let it go. If there's nothing else, I'll go first. Garp paused suddenly, turned his head, and looked at Sengoku with a strange expression. Sengoku, I don't know if I should say something or not. In the marshal's office, Sengoku's furious roar was heard. See how motivated people are. Then, advertisement chapter 143. The youngest Marine ensign in history is officially released. Open black lens bracket 3/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Marshal's office. Sengoku fell into a state of doubting his life. He stood by the window blankly, looking at the blue sky and white clouds in the distance. His eyes lost their focus for a while, and he was in a trance. Garp leaves. With the elation of victory, he left the marshal's office excitedly. Here, again, only Sengoku is left. It's just unreasonable. A guy like Garp, why would Mao have such a monster grandson? It's not scientific. Sengoku's mood was filled with gloom. Why does such a monster have Garp's bloodline flowing through it? Recalling Garp's proud look, Sengoku's mood became more and more depressed. The essential. What did the old Garp do? Did nothing. What did he teach Layfon? Didn't teach anything. Layfon's achievements today are all due to his own terrifying talent. A hammer relationship with Garp. But when it comes to Garp, it seems that Layfon's achievements today are all due to him. Hateful. Sengoku cursed viciously in his heart. Think again. He became emotional. At only 7 years old, he possesses so many terrifying fighting methods. What kind of monster is this? If you have time, you must see for yourself what kind of freak Garp's grandson Layfon is. Look out to see. For the first time in the war against 160, I heard such unimaginable and terrifying examples. Rao is Sengoku's psychological endurance. With the things he heard today, he was rubbed again and again with great pain. The world outlook and cognitive outlook have been completely refreshed. Marine Ensign. If it's what Garp said, the official title of a Marine Ensign is really not too much. Although there has never been a similar example before, it always requires some special treatment to treat monster geniuses. This is the seedling of a future Marine Admiral, don't neglect it. Even, this is very likely to become the youngest Admiral of Headquarters in history. Sengoku thought to himself. Then, he began to go back to the office chair and sit down, and picked up the phone bug beside the table to make a call. Boo boo boo. The unique piercing voice of the phone bug quickly lingered in the huge marshal's office. The youngest Admiral of Headquarters ever. None of these have yet become reality. But what has now become a fact is that Layfon, this brat, has become the youngest Marine ensign in history. Sengoku held the phone bug, his expression full of emotion. Really, ever since he agreed to Garp's business. It can also be officially announced. A history of the youngest Naval Headquarters ensign, coming soon. 7-year-old Marine ensign. Looking at the past, it is simply unprecedented. There has never been such a dire instance. And this is the first and only time. A special case who was only 7 years old and was promoted to Marine ensign when he first joined Marine. Sengoku could imagine, after the decision is made, how much turbulence and turmoil will be caused by Naval Headquarters. The 7-year-old Naval Headquarters ensign will naturally arouse the movement of all parties in Naval Headquarters. There is no doubt about this. Finally, the phone bug was dialed. Marshal Sengoku. A very respectful voice came from the opposite side. Pass my order and issue a document announcement. Adjust Marine recruit Monkey D Layfon's military rank to Naval Headquarters ensign. Put all his documents, etc., into the Marine secret database. Sengoku expressed his words slowly with a blank face. The opposite side was obviously stunned. For a long time, no sound has been conveyed. Advertisement. After a while, yes, Marshal Sengoku. The phone bug just hung up. Very simple, without too many mistakes. Even if the people on the opposite side were shocked, they didn't dare to disobey and doubt Sengoku's order face to face. As a Marine, obeying orders is naturally the first principal element. No matter how much doubt the mood has, there is only one thing they need to do. Obey. Obey orders. After hanging up the phone, Sengoku leaned back on the seat and rubbed his temples, his expression full of emotion. 7-year-old Naval Headquarters ensign. Coming soon. No doubt, Marine ensign at this age stage can definitely break the records set by Marine in the past, and refresh all these records. Marine ensign can already be said to be a Marine officer. You can independently control a warship, lead 100 Marine soldiers and subordinates, and independently perform tasks to sail out to sea. Never thought about it. The status of a Marine officer will one day be bestowed on a 7-year-old child. After thinking about all kinds of things, Sengoku sighed more and more. He can already predict, Marineford will soon be fully detonated by his order. Suppress the many thoughts in your head. Sengoku was lost in thought. He was thinking about a very serious and solemn question. That is, could it be that I should really do what Garp said? Time to think about having a baby. Just thought of. Layfon's terrifying talent. This made Sengoku really jealous. Say something. If you want to have such a grandson yourself, then you will have a successor. Save Garp showing off and nagging here every day. When will we be able to find such an outstanding genius grandson? Do not. Wrong. This is a monster. Soon. When Sengoku's order came. In less than 10 minutes, Marine, who was in charge of this matter, came to the residence that Layfon had just resettled, and knocked on the door. Crunch. The door was pushed open. Layfon stood by the door, looking at the Marine in uniform, with a bit of surprise on his face. You are Mr. Layfon. The Marine was somewhat reserved and respectful. My name is Kasha, and I am the messenger who is in charge of coming here to inform you of the news from Marine. He looked at Layfon, full of wonder and shock. He knows a lot. Moreover, it also came with a piece of subversive news. Seeing Layfon's youthful appearance, Kasha was even more shocked. Too young. Do not. Wrong. It's too young. Young cannot be used to describe, only young can be used to describe Layfon in front of me. Unbelievable. It's such a young child. He actually. Kasha's throat was dry, and his thoughts became a little confused. He is only responsible for conveying the news, he is just a small Marine sergeant, and his military rank belongs to the lower middle upper level of Marine. Nature. His psychological endurance is not that good. At least, faced with the current unimaginable events, Kasha's worldview has already been shattered several times. When he saw Layfon's young face, he was even more shocked. The message from Marine. There was a bit of interest on Layfon's face. Then what is the news you want to bring me? Layfon was surprised when he first arrived. Marine moves so fast. There is a result of the matter of joining the Marine so soon. Here comes the problem. Advertisement. I just joined the Marine, how high a Marine official title can I get? This made Layfon deeply curious. Could it be? Do you want to start from the grassroots level of Marine just like Kebi and Berumeber? What a joke. I don't have the time to waste on these meaningless things. Think a lot. Let Layfon look forward to more. What is the news brought by Kasha in front of him? The lowest level of Marine is Seaman Recruit, which is the recruit who just joined the Marine. Then, there is Seaman Apprentice, Seaman First Class. Then there is the management level at the lower level of Marine, the Corporal Leader. Wuchang went to Sergeant Cao and Cao Chong. Chief Cao is the highest official rank in the lower ranks of Marine. Then came the Marine Officer. At the officer level, the lowest is Marine Ensign. Then Lieutenant Junior Grade, Captain, then Major, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel. So, what kind of title can I get? Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly. No matter how high it is, he doesn't expect it. Marine status and official rank cannot be measured by strength. Without enough contribution value and record, it is naturally impossible to improve one's status. According to Layfon's original vision, I just joined the Marine, no matter how bad it is, I should be able to get a corporal or sergeant or something. As for Seaman Recruit and Seaman Apprentice, he didn't think about it at all. First of all, congratulations Mr. Layfon on your successful promotion to Marine Ensign. Marshal Sengoku directly ordered you to be promoted to Marine Ensign. Under Layfon's expectant gaze, Kasha took a deep breath, as if suppressing the many shocking emotions in his heart, and then told the truth about the notice. Marine Ensign. Layfon froze for a moment. He really didn't expect it. As soon as he came, he directly gave himself the official title of Marine Ensign. This is already considered the status of a Marine officer. Although this is the lowest rank of military officer, it has never been heard before that one can be exceptionally promoted to Marine Ensign just after joining the Marine. Layfon, this is a first. Also the first example. When first joined Marine, I was promoted to Marine Ensign in an exceptional way. Yes, congratulations Layfon Ensign. Kasha looked at Layfon with eyes full of admiration and shock. At first, he himself doubted whether he had received the wrong order for 2.7. Let him run and rule over a 7-year-old. Inform the other party that they have been successfully promoted to Marine Ensign. Then, Kasha thought he was hallucinating. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be true. The order was still issued by Marine Admiral Sengoku himself, there is no falsehood. Kasha was stunned on the spot. What the hell? 7-year-old Naval Headquarters Ensign. And just after joining Marine, he was unexpectedly promoted to Marine Ensign. Kasha never dreamed that such a terrifying and horrifying example was happening right before his eyes. 7 years old Marine Ensign. What kind of horrible example is this? Never heard of it before. Simply unprecedented. Looking at Marine for hundreds of years, there has never been a similar example. And the first example is standing in front of him at this moment. So, first am now Marine Ensign. First became a Marine Ensign. Layfon just felt inexplicable, with a dazed look on his face. The surprise came too suddenly. Let him himself be a little unable to react. 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Does that mean, himself, broke Marine's record? Become, the youngest ever Naval Headquarters Ensign. A 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Advertisement Chapter 144. The feeling of being backed by the background is so refreshing. Open black lens bracket 4/6 for customization. Close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? Layfon looked at Kasha strangely. Of course, he also knows how difficult it is to be upgraded to Marine Ensign just after joining Marine. This will appear a little unexpected, completely caught off guard. Yes, Layfon Ensign, I did not say anything wrong, nor did you hear it wrong. Now you have been officially issued a document by Marshal Sengoku, appointing you as the new Naval Headquarters Ensign. Have the qualifications to select 100 Marine soldiers as subordinates. Similarly, you can also carry out the task of going to sea, so that you can control 10 warships alone and lead your subordinates to attack. These are the qualifications of an official Naval Headquarters Ensign. Kasha then introduced Layfon seriously and solemnly. Actually, his mood was also full of shock, and he couldn't calm down until now. God knows how confused he was when he first received this order. He almost doubted his life. What's the situation? A 7-year-old Naval Headquarters slightly ensign. What a joke. This must be too childish. Then, Kasha almost wondered whether Marshal Sengoku had lost his mind. Many thoughts and ideas have appeared in his mind. Until, when seeing Layfon, these emotions are infinitely magnified. Why is this? How can a 7-year-old become a Naval Headquarters Ensign? After more than 10 years of hard work, I have only become a sergeant, not even a chief sao. How can this 7-year-old child in front of me be promoted to Marine Ensign just after joining the Marine? This made Kasha still unable to figure it out. He can't understand either. Marshal Sengoku above, why on earth would he issue such absurd cold words? Isn't this going to create divisions and conflicts within Marine? Let all Marines question the high-level decision. How does a 7-year-old child have the ability to be a Marine Ensign? Even though so many doubts and confusions filled his mind, Kekasha was still very respectful when he treated Layfon, not daring to overstep or neglect. Anyway, an order is an order, nothing can be changed. And the Layfon in front of him is a Marine Ensign whose status is 2 levels higher than him. Come on, this kid must have something extraordinary, so the Marshal of the country will not hesitate to break the usual rules. Promote this person to Naval Headquarters Ensign. With this thought in mind, Kasha's mood changed a little bit. It was still difficult for him to understand. How special is it that there is such an example of an unconventional upgrade to Marine Ensign? Always can't figure it out. Shaking the many thoughts in his head, Kasha then respectfully reminded Layfon, Layfon Ensign, you have just been promoted to Marine Ensign, and you still need to handle a lot of things. E.g., your Marine uniform. As we all know, Marines with Marine Ensign status and above can customize their own Marine uniforms for matching. Furthermore, Layfon Ensign, you are too young to be able to use the standard Marine uniform. Therefore, I need you to move forward and follow your subordinates to the store where Marine uniforms are customized. Also, you have just become a Marine Ensign, you have the right to choose 80 seaman recruits and 20 seaman apprentices, and you can recruit a total of 100 Marine soldiers as your subordinates. Just becoming a Marine Ensign, Layfon Ensign, you still need to arrive at the office. After registration, you can receive your personal private Marine rank badge. Kasha's introduction is very detailed. It did popularize a lot for Layfon about what Marine Ensign needs to do. In general, Marine Ensign has many benefits. In addition to various benefits, there is also the basic salary of Marine Ensign, which can receive 60,000 berry per month, which is considered a relatively qualified standard. Can you still get paid? Do I count as child labor? Layfon thought with a strange expression. 60,000 berry is not too bad. Barely enough is still enough, as long as the expenses are not so extravagant. Of course, they have all become Marine Ensign, do they still rely on this salary to survive? This is too embarrassing. Looting pirates, this is the right way for a Marine to make a fortune. Advertisement. Rely on base salary. If the basic salary can make a fortune, who will work hard? Who do pirates rely on to catch them? Comfortable, never fit for a Marine. Only competition is the internal purpose of Marine. By the way, as a Marine Ensign, can I customize my own weapon? Layfon changed his mind and asked. The samurai sword in his hand is basically no longer suitable for him to continue using. It works badly. The samurai sword in his hand is still the standard weapon of an ordinary elite marine, although the workmanship is relatively excellent overall. But naturally there is no custom-made samurai sword, the workmanship is even more penultimate. Anyway, I'm a dignified naval headquarters ensign, so I can't live without my own weapon, right? Layfon ensign, you can rest assured that after becoming a marine ensign, you will get a standard saber that belongs to marine ensign. Exquisite workmanship, made by some famous swordsmiths in Marineford. You can rest assured that its quality must be several grades higher than the general samurai swords that can be found on the market. Kasha told the truth. That's good. Layfon smiled. Knew it. After all, I have become a naval headquarters ensign, how can the treatment be too bad? Marine ensign can already be said to be an officer in the Marine, and no longer belongs to the grassroots personnel. The thought of becoming an officer in the Marine at the age of 7 made Layfon very emotional. When will my Marine ensign promotion document be delivered? Layfon asked again. Tomorrow. Your documents will be issued tomorrow. At the same time, the entire naval headquarters Marineford, and all Marines will know that you have been promoted to Marine ensign. At that time, your identity will be truly confirmed. Kasha briefly explained. That is to say, now Layfon, although has become Marine ensign. But in fact, everyone in naval headquarters still doesn't know that he is such a number one figure. The moment when the document for promotion to Marine ensign is officially released and made public. Layfon is the real meaning, becoming a Marine ensign in naval headquarters, the real Marine ensign recognized by everyone. Tomorrow. It's not too short. Layfon nodded. He felt hopeful again. The moment when the promotion document is officially issued tomorrow. Naval headquarters, how much turmoil will be caused? 7-year-old naval headquarters ensign. Presumably, this will definitely shock many people. Can I have my own warship? Layfon asked again. You can only temporarily take over a warship when you are on a mission. If you want to own a warship exclusively for you, you need to be a master of Marine Commodore or above to have this power. Moreover, people can customize the hull appearance of your own warship for you. Create a warship that belongs to your style according to your favorite style. Kasha shook his head, and gradually popularized some basic knowledge for Layfon. In short, only by becoming a Marine Commodore, Layfon can allow people to customize their own warships. Such as Garp's kind of unique warship, the front of the warship is a pug biting a bone. This is the privilege that the Marine regiment above the Commodore has. Below the Commodore, even the Colonel of Naval Headquarters cannot have the qualifications for people to customize warships. And Layfon is currently in the Marine Ensign class, so naturally it cannot span so many levels, allowing people to customize their own Marine warships. Everything still has a long way to go. Marine Commodore. With my strength, it's not difficult. However, the improvement of military rank is not something that can be brought about by strength. You still need to accumulate enough credit and achievements to improve your status in Marine. The me now is just ensign. It's still far, far away. However, if you go out to sea and destroy a few pirate groups with a bounty of over 100 million, it shouldn't be too difficult to quickly upgrade to Marine Commodore. Layfon thought to himself. Generally speaking, for him, he was promoted to Marine Ensign right after he joined Marine, which is already a very good start. Advertisement. This start alone is enough to surpass 99% of Marine. Do not. More precisely, Marine is above all else. No one can do it, similar to the example of Layfon, who just joined Marine and was promoted to Marine Ensign in an exceptional way. In the past 100 years, this is the only case. Marine has been around for hundreds of years. There is only one such example. Only Layfon is the most special exception. And this is also the main reason why Kasha, who came to report, was so shocked. Because of this example, it happened for the first time in Marine. It is normal and inevitable that these turmoil will be caused. Or, breaking the rules, this is a child who is only 7 years old. A child who is only 7 years old has become an example of breaking the rules. This made Kasha's mood unavoidable, and he would endure the turbulence like a storm. It's just Marine Ensign now. But my strength is already close to Marine Rear Admiral. Far above Marine Commodore. After I have fully mastered the color of knowledge, and I have fully mastered Conqueror's Hockey, I will be able to smoothly step into the power class of Marine Rear Admiral. By then, wouldn't it be easy to improve the status of Marine? As long as you have sufficient strength, destroying a few pirate groups is enough. After thinking about a lot of things, the smile on Layfon's face became brighter. Marine Ensign, just the beginning. With his current strength, it wouldn't be too difficult to raise his military rank to 620. But now I can't leave Marineford, so I have to wait until my strength has been improved enough before leaving Marineford to frantically plunder and kill pirates to improve the Marine's rank. The best way for Marine to improve his military rank is naturally to hunt down the pirates. Or, execute many tasks assigned above. But how can the task be done every day? Nature. Calculated in this way, the only way left is to hunt and capture the pirates. This is the best way to get to the higher Marine tiers. Want to raise your Marine rank? The matter of capturing the pirate group is essential. This is the quickest way to do it. Marine Commodore, you can customize an exclusive. For my own Marine warship. This threshold is not too high. Sooner or later, I will order a warship that belongs to me. The old man's pug warship is so ugly, I really don't know what kind of aesthetics he has. Layfon didn't forget to complain about Garp's exclusive warship. Who would take a pug-biting bone structure as his own exclusive warship? Only a dishonest old man like Garp would do that. Mentioning Garp, Layfon couldn't help thinking about it. Alright, directly break the rules and let me, who just joined Marine, be promoted to Marine Ensign in an extraordinary way. He also needs a guide now, so that he can have a preliminary understanding of Marineford, a place that is sacred and inviolable in the hearts of countless Marines. This is the only possibility. Layfon couldn't help laughing. This old man, did you really give me the back door? This feeling of being backed by a backstage background is really refreshing. Otherwise, how could it be so smooth? Just right. During the period, I happened to pass by the uniform customization shop, and let them customize your Marine Ensign uniform for you. If it weren't for Garp, Layfon would never have imagined that Sengoku would break Marine's routine for himself. When you come to Marineford for the first time, you naturally have to understand the structure of this place. Layfon nodded. As a Marine Ensign, shouldn't I go through the back door? Kasha took the initiative to ask. Layfon Ensign, are you going to the office with your subordinates now to receive your exclusive Ensign military rank badge? By the way, this subordinate can also take you to familiarize yourself with more surrounding landforms. Quote. Then I will trouble you to lead the way. Advertisement Chapter 145. I would venture to ask, who are you, Vice Admiral Garp? Open black lens bracket 5/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Well known. In Naval Headquarters, the lowest level Marine soldiers are ordinary seaman recruit, seaman apprentice, and seaman first class. They are at the lowest level of Marine, and they are not qualified to wear the, just, Marine uniform. They only come standard with normal Marine uniforms and hats. Secondly, after being promoted from seaman first class to captain, Marines, including Sergeant Cao and Cao Chong, are all low-level high-level personnel, and they can wear casual clothes at will, but they still cannot wear the uniform that represents Marines. Justice. Coat. It was not until lieutenants that a coat with Justice on the back was allowed to be worn with the standard Marine uniform. This class already belongs to Marine officers. TWA. The current Marine status of Layfon. Naval Headquarters Ensign. This is the lowest standard for a Marine officer, and it is also the lowest threshold for a Marine to wear the Justice coat. Then, under the leadership of Kasha, Layfon went very smoothly, and came to a Marine uniform customization room. There are a lot of staff here. Most of them are middle-aged women wearing the standard Marine clothing, some of them are biting cigarettes at the corners of their mouths, looking very rough, not inferior to men at all. In the huge custom-made clothes room, thick smoke billowed everywhere, which was very pungent. Little ghost, what uniform do you want to order? A middle-aged woman was biting a cigarette, and glanced at Kasha indifferently. Kasha was stared at with some hairs standing on end, and hurriedly pointed to Layfon anxiously, and told the truth. Ma'am, it's Layfon Ensign, and I want to order a few sets of Marine Ensign uniforms. The words fell. Many women in the custom-made clothes room looked surprised, stopped their movements, and turned to look at Layfon. Their eyes and pupils were full of shocking Han. This brat, surprised middle-aged woman biting a cigarette. The cigarette at the corner of her mouth almost slipped from her mouth, and her mood was seriously shocked. What is this? Just this kid who is obviously only 6 or 7 years old. As a result, you just told me. What the hell is he, a Marine Ensign? What international joke are you kidding? Her thinking briefly showed signs of confusion. Are you sure you didn't take the wrong medicine? The middle-aged woman looked at Kasha in horror. This is a notice from Marshal Sengoku. You can take a look. As if he had been prepared for a long time, Kasha took out an announcement document from his arms, and handed it to the group of middle-aged women in front of him cautiously. After receiving the announcement, a group of women gathered around and stared at the words above. Quite a while. Only then did they believe that what Kasha said was true. This one is indeed from Marshal Sengoku's announcement document, and there is also the Marshal's seal in the lower right corner. These cannot be faked. And the consequences of cheating are very serious. My God, 7-year-old Naval Headquarters Ensign. Am I dreaming? Sisters. A group of women stared at Layfon with their pupils wide open, their faces full of shock. Of course they never dreamed of it. The young Layfon turned out to be less Marine. To know, Marine Ensign already belonged to the rank of Marine officer. Although he was not in the top position, he was still the mainstay of Marine. Every Marine Ensign has become impossible to ignore. Marine is a huge group composed of these mainstays. They can't imagine. How did a 7-year-old be promoted to Marine Ensign? This is simply unprecedented. In the past Marine, there has never been a similar example. They specialize in customizing uniforms for all kinds of Marines, so of course they know more about the detailed conditions in Marines than anyone else. But they never heard of it. A child less than 10 years old was given the official title of Marine Ensign. This is so shockingly mundane. I said everyone, don't look at me like that. Layfon's hair stood on end while being stared at by a group of people. After a short period of time, there was a lot of waves. Everything is on track. A group of aunts began to measure the size of Layfon, began to record the size, and ordered the uniform of Marine Ensign. All of this was done in less than 10 minutes. Advertisement. Ladies, thank you for your hard work. Kasha looked stiff and serious. Nothing, it's all our responsibility. A group of women shook their heads. To date, their moods were still difficult to calm down, and they looked at Layfon with shocking eyes, and their expressions were full of admiration and awe. 7-year-old Naval Headquarters ensign. What a rare example. They have worked here for many years, and this is the first time they have seen such incredible examples. Let their mood, unable to calm down for a long time. Layfon ensign, let's go. Kasha turned to Layfon with a respectful mention. Next, should I go to collect my exclusive Marine ensign badge? Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a little anticipation. Yes, Kasha nodded. Then let's go. The two walked out of the custom-made clothes room, and a group of women watched them leave, and then they looked away, and started all kinds of amazed remarks. My goodness, it's really unimaginable that a 7-year-old child is Naval Headquarters ensign. If this spreads, the whole Marineford will cause a huge shock, right? It's the first time in my life that first saw a Marine officer who was only 7 years old. If it weren't for Marshal Sengoku's announcement papers, I couldn't imagine it at all. Everyone was amazed. 7-year-old Marine ensign. What kind of concept is this? In their minds. Those who can join the Marine at a young age are relatively outstanding and outstanding seedlings. Available today. They saw it. An example of not only being young, but also Marine ensign. In contrast, those so-called excellent seedlings are simply weak. 7-year-old Marine ensign. In time, isn't this the Vice Admiral position? Vice Admiral, you guys are still too young. In my opinion, there has never been such an example of a 7-year-old Marine ensign before. I can judge. In less than 10 years, this Layfon ensign will definitely be able to hit the throne of Admiral. Quote. 7 years old, is Admiral seedling. The custom-made clothing room, which has always been boring, also ushered in a short-lived bustle. Walked out of the custom clothes room. Layfon just got rid of it a little bit, the feeling of being stared at by the group of women with weird eyes, the feeling of being on pins and needles, made him look very unnatural. Mr. Layfon, this side is our accommodation area at Naval Headquarters. While walking, Kasha took the initiative to introduce Layfon. These high-rise building groups passing by are the Marine dormitory in Marine Admiral. Walked around. Layfon has to admit, Marineford is really big. Despite appearances, Marineford is just a sea fortress. But in fact, the internal area is very vast, almost comparable to an island. There are no less than 300,000 people living in Marineford. It can be imagined from this. Marineford, which has a population of no less than 300,000, needs a large area to fully accommodate so many people. Marineford looks like a small one, but it is actually as huge as an island. After Kasha's introduction, Layfon also got a lot of basic information about Marineford. Layfon ensign, in our naval headquarters. There are several absolutely forbidden places, and ordinary people are forbidden to enter at will. I will briefly describe these places to you. In order to prevent you from inadvertently breaking in when the time comes, and suffering from unwarranted disasters. Kasha looked serious. Forbidden place. Layfon was slightly curious. The first one is over there. Look, in the northwest direction, there is a tall building over there. Kasha pointed to a building in a certain direction and began to introduce to Layfon, there is where our Admiral of Headquarters lives today. The 3 admirals all live in that building. On weekdays, ordinary people are forbidden to approach. If you break in at will, in severe cases, you may be treated as an assassin by Admiral and kill him directly. You can imagine how terrifying an attack at the Admiral level is. Therefore, advertisement. The place where Admiral lives is listed as one of the absolute forbidden areas in our Marineford. No one wants to feel the terrifying destructive power of an Admiral-level powerhouse. If Admiral really killed him on the spot as an assassin, it would be too embarrassing to die. Where Admiral lives, following the direction Kasha pointed, Layfon also saw a building. What's more, in the southeast direction. Then, Kasha turned his finger and pointed in another direction again. About 3 kilometers away from us, there is a basement, a building complex similar to a factory. There is our Marine's largest weapon research and development base. The weapons we often use on weekdays come from this weapon research and development base. Quote. Its significance represents our Marine's largest logistics warehouse. It provides us with a steady stream of guns and ammunition to fight pirates. From this, one can imagine how much it affects our Marine. Naturally, the adults above attach great importance to it. In order to prevent people from wanton sabotage, are spies and agents mixed in. On weekdays, this place also prohibits any Marines from approaching. There will be many Marines patrolling around, but if anyone is found trying to approach, they will be killed. Because there have been rebels who lurked in our Marine and tried to destroy our Marine weapon research and development base. This made the patrols of the weapon research and development base more and more frequent. And, once they get close, they will really kill us on the spot, and they won't show any mercy. Mentioning this place, Kasha's face was full of panic. The weapon research and development base is equivalent to the Marine's arsenal. It will be heavily guarded, and it is normal for people to be prohibited from approaching. But Layfon didn't expect that. Someone actually tried to destroy this arsenal. Who wanted to destroy this arsenal back then? Layfon asked curiously. Revolutionary Army. Kasha answered truthfully with a bit of fear in his eyes. I don't know why. After listening to Kasha's words, Layfon suddenly felt that standing here, his back was a little chilly, and his heart felt a little weak for no reason. Say something. Are we not members of the Revolutionary Army? Although, Sheep Papa is called Dragon. But dragons are dragons, and we came to Marine with Don Garp. You can't use this absurd reason to think, Nuo How How, that you are an undercover agent sent by the Revolutionary Army, right? By the way, I haven't asked for advice yet. What is your name, Layfon Ensign? As the atmosphere eased a little, Kasha couldn't help asking curiously. My name is Monkey D. Layfon. With Layfon's voice just fell. Kasha was stunned. Monkey. This surname always feels familiar to Mao himself. Like, where have I heard the same? So familiar. Not generally familiar. I must have heard of it somewhere. Otherwise, it is impossible to have such ears. Let me think about it. Monkey D family. Wait a minute. Coincidence. Many thoughts lingered in Kasha's mind. Can a coincidence be so coincidental? This is not Vice Admiral Garp's last name. This must be too shocking to the world. Vice Admiral Garp, isn't it called Monkey D Garp? Obediently, it seems that I have discovered an incredible thing. Excuse me, Vice Admiral Garp, who is yours? Layfon Ensign, may I ask you? Question mark. Kasha's throat was dry and he couldn't help swallowing, his eyes widened and filled with horror and shock, and he asked Layfon tentatively. As if sensing something, Kasha suddenly widened his eyes, the pupils were filled with horror and shock, he focused and moved his eyes blankly, and finally fixed on Layfon. Moment. Both last names are exactly the same. Are there really so many coincidences in this world? How can this be a coincidence? Advertisement Chapter 146 FK. Vice Admiral Garp is your grandpa. Open black lens bracket 6/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Monkey D Garp. This is Garp's full name. It is also a name that Kasha has always remembered deeply. Marine's hero. In the minds of countless Marines, the most admired and admired object. Many people joined Marine because of the fame of the hero Garp. An existence with a more prominent reputation than Marine 3 Admiral. Just relying on being alone, he has achieved a reputation that is enough to cover up 3 admirals. It can be seen from this. Garp, what an influence in Marine. Now comes the problem. How could it be such a coincidence that Mao met another person named Monkey? Still a 7-year-old Marine ensign. This made Kasha have to think a lot. Now he is eager to know, what is the relationship between Vice Admiral Garp and Layfon in front of him? Under Kasha's apprehensive eyes, I see, Garp. You said the old man, he is my grandfather. Without too much deliberation, these words came out of Layfon's mouth naturally. Hide the hammer. What is there to hide? With the background and background as the backing, isn't it fragrant? Why hide? Isn't this purely mentally ill? If you have a backing and a backstage, you have to put it out in time, otherwise, wouldn't it be that any cat or dog can jump up and down in front of you? With the background backer set up, many tedious and troublesome things can naturally be eliminated directly. In this way, there is no harm at all. Anyway, Layfon can't figure it out. There is a background and the background needs to be concealed, like a mouse crossing the street. If there is a background that is not displayed to show off, what should it do? Only an idiot would cover up and let a group of cats and dogs stick their noses in the face. If you put the background at the beginning, you can save a lot of trouble. And this is also the character that Layfon has always been adhering to. If you can avoid troubles as much as possible, avoid them as much as possible. Can't avoid it, then do it directly. Simple and rude. 423. Furthermore, of course Layfon knows what Garp's prestige means to Marine. If he doesn't reveal it in time, is it really necessary to wait until someone bullies him at the door before shouting it out? This kind of low-level face-slapping effect, Layfon doesn't need it at all. If you have an identity, you still have to take it out in time. This will save a lot of unnecessary trouble. Layfon smiled and looked at the dazed Kasha in front of him. Obviously, Kasha was stunned. His head seemed to be hit hard by a heavy object, and his whole forehead was buzzing. Wow, shit, Vice Admiral Garp, is Layfon Ensign your grandfather? Really? My own guess, actually guessed right. Monkey D family. Does the Layfon Ensign in front of you really have a blood relationship with Vice Admiral Garp? And grandparents? God, Kasha suddenly felt that he seemed to have encountered a terrible event. His mood was stirred up like a storm. The waves surged wildly and beat one after another, unable to calm down. So horrifyingly mundane. What did he hear just now? Vice Admiral Garp has a grandson. Advertisement. And standing right in front of your eyes right now. Is this 7-year-old Marine Ensign? 7-year-old Marine Ensign equals grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. What the hell? Can anyone explain to me? How did Vice Admiral Garp have a grandson? Layfon Ensign, are you sure you're not joking? Kasha's throat was dry, his tone was a little nervous and reserved, and his expression was horrified and shocked. He still couldn't calm down. All of this overturned his cognition. His psychological endurance has not allowed him to accept such terrible things that subvert cognition. Real or fake? Does Vice Admiral Garp have any grandchildren? Why have I never heard of it before? And never, no similar news circulated in Naval Headquarters. It is precisely because of this that when he heard what Layfon said, Kasha's mood was so shaken, it was as if his worldview was shattered. Do you think I'm joking? Layfon looked at Kasha with a smile. Seeing Layfon's expression, Kasha swallowed, feeling wildly shocked. Doesn't look like a joke at all. But is this true? If this is true, then this kid is amazing. And many more. Suddenly, Kasha thought of a very important thing. 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Again is the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. Is there something tricky? Could it be that Vice Admiral Garp, using his power for personal gain, let his 7-year-old grandson obtain a Marine Ensign status? My god, no. This is Vice Admiral Garp. Vice Admiral Garp, but our Marine hero, how could he use his power for personal gain to obtain a Marine ensign status for his grandson? It's impossible. Countless thoughts impacted Kasha's thinking. Let his complexion also change crazily. He immediately thought of the key point of the matter. Could it be that Vice Admiral Garp went through the back door? This allowed my grandson to become a Marine ensign at only 7 years old. Not to mention, this possibility, just born in Kasha's heart, was quickly magnified infinitely. Although he didn't want to accept it, that hero who was open and upright all his life was a person who won the Marine ensign's identity at the expense of power for personal gain for his grandson. But the reality seems to be right in front of us now. Otherwise, how to explain that a 7-year-old child won the status of Marine ensign? This is seriously contrary to common sense. Break the usual. Marine, there has never been a similar example before. But today, it is broken. A person who just joined Marine was promoted to Marine ensign in an exceptional way. If this spreads out, no one will believe it if there is nothing tricky about it. Furthermore, the one who broke the rules was a child who was only 7 years old. A 7-year-old child, what is he capable of? How can he be qualified as a Marine ensign? This made Kasha no matter what, he couldn't think of a reason. Anyway, he can't imagine. How can a child who is only 7 years old be qualified to be a Marine ensign? Is it really strong enough to be a Marine ensign? What does it mean to be a Marine officer? That means, the commander of a group of Marine soldiers. Whether a commander is qualified or not determines whether the Marine under him can survive in the battlefield. If a commander is not qualified, what will be ruined is the lives of countless Marine soldiers. How can such a thing be child's play? Advertisement. If an unqualified person is allowed to serve as a Marine officer, how many Marine casualties will it cause in the future? This point, Kasha himself can fully imagine. Unqualified Marine officers will ruin the lives of their Marine soldiers at any time, causing them to be wiped out in the battle with the pirates. FFLX. The birth of every Marine officer requires strict and careful judgment. Certainly, the most important condition to measure whether a Marine officer is qualified. That is, strength. Strength is the foundation of everything. Whether a Marine officer is competent for this position also needs to see that his own strength can meet the standards of this class. If there is not enough strength, how to lead an elite Marine, how to command a group of Marine subordinates to break out a war with the pirate group. And now look, Kasha is completely unimaginable. How strong can a child who is only 7 years old be so powerful? No matter how good it is, can it meet the standard of Marine ensign? Of course not. Kasha himself, he thinks he has enough qualifications to challenge Layfon in front of him. How strong can a 7-year-old be? Vice Admiral Garp, my life is bright and above board. Could it be? Is his reputation really going to be ruined once, on his grandson? Using power for personal gain. The most important thing is not these. Rather, from this incident, it can be seen that Vice Admiral Garp does not take the safety of Marine soldiers' lives at heart. It is reasonable for him to use his own identity to obtain a Marine ensign identity for his grandson. But how can he consider that those Marine soldiers who are assigned to work under his grandson, whether they follow a 7-year-old child out to sea and whether their lives are guaranteed to a certain extent? Presumably, their risk factor will be very high. Is this still the Vice Admiral Garp I admire in my heart? Kasha opened his mouth, but his eyes were lost. His belief seems to be facing broken traces. This moment, he can already make a preliminary judgment. Tomorrow, the moment when Sengoku's announcement was officially issued. The whole Marineford, what a wave will be set off. There will also be countless Marines who question Garp and Sengoku. These are all inevitable, because, let a 7-year-old be a Marine ensign. This thing is really ridiculous. 7-year-old child, I am afraid that the thinking ability has not yet fully developed, right? Then, his eyes became complicated and looked at Layfon. Tomorrow is the moment when Uzumaki will really explode. Actually, he has involved himself in a troublesome Uzumaki. The influence and scope of this Uzumaki is gradually expanding. Vice Admiral Garp may also be in unprecedented trouble. Layfon ensign, you may not be able to understand. How serious is your current situation? This is not the use of power for personal gain, what is it? Constantly expanding at a terrifying speed. And just after joining Marine, he was promoted to Marine ensign in an exceptional way. With a heavy sigh, Kasha forcibly controlled the ups and downs of his inner emotions, and suppressed all the negative emotions in his heart. And Layfon ensign, you are the heart of this Uzumaki. This level of identity of Marine ensign may not give you the supreme glory. On the contrary, what it can give you may be completely opposite to what you imagined. How can a 7-year-old child, like other Marine ensigns, have the thinking to independently judge the situation of the battle and plan carefully? Examples like this have never been seen before. For the sake of your future, Vice Admiral Garp may not even know it. If he hadn't gone through the back door, who would have imagined why a child who was only 7 years old would be directly promoted to Marine ensign? Also, advertisement chapter 147 7-year-old Marine officer. Are you right? Open black lens bracket 1/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Unexpectedly, the old man did this for me. Layfon had a smile on his face, full of emotion. After Kasha's explanation, he could of course have a preliminary understanding of his current situation. Severe. Not to mention, at most, there will be some rumors, and there will be some small disturbances. As for really destabilizing Garp, this is obviously not possible. Of course, this kind of trivial matter must naturally be resolved, but not now. At least until tomorrow, when the matter really ferments, is the best moment for Layfon to come forward to solve it. Now things are only at the beginning moment, and it is not the best time for Layfon to come forward to solve it. Only tomorrow, when Sengoku officially releases Layfon's promotion document, will everything begin. I didn't expect it. The old man, he took these things for himself without saying a word. From here, Layfon felt it more deeply. Garp, value yourself. It was as if all hopes and expectations were pinned on himself. This point, Layfon can feel very clearly. It will be Admiral within 5 years. It looks like it's really not good to disappoint the old man. He put all his heart and soul into me, and put all his resources on me. If I don't work harder, it will really be unreasonable. Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly. Admiral, 5 years, more than rubbing. Simply too filling. Layfon is well positioned to hit Marine Admiral's throne within 5 years. It doesn't even take that long. 3 years, maybe 2 years. Enough. If others know what Layfon is thinking right now, he might vomit blood. 3 years. 2 years. How old are you, bro? You know, you are only 7 years old this year. According to what you say, doesn't that mean the 10-year-old Admiral of Headquarters is about to be born? Do you really think that Admiral of Headquarters can be held so easily? This is unavoidable, and we don't take Admiral of our naval headquarters too seriously, right? This is the highest combat power of naval headquarters, the top powerhouse of the sea. Marine Admiral is hard. In the eyes of ordinary people, maybe it is true. But in my eyes, the degree of difficulty is not high. It's just a matter of time, sooner or later. Layfon had a look of anticipation on his face. With his own strength, he is already preparing to attack the strength class of Marine Rear Admiral. Once the impact is successful, the next target is Vice Admiral. Is it too far from Admiral? Not far away. In Layfon's eyes, it seems like years are within reach. Layfon Ensign, are you really not worried? Seeing Layfon's indifferent and seemingly indifferent expression fluctuates, this makes Kasha next to him feel uneasy, full of puzzlement and confusion. He can't understand. Is Layfon's heart too big? Or is the other party simply not understanding the true meaning and concept of what he just said? Once Marshal Sengoku's promotion papers are issued tomorrow, it will surely cause a stir in Marineford. At that time, there will be countless voices of Marine questioning. Could it be? Isn't this a big deal? Even the status and prestige of Vice Admiral Garp will be shaken violently. Isn't this a big deal? Looking at the 7-year-old Layfon, Kasha sighed helplessly. It looks like it's still too young. They don't understand the seriousness of their current situation and situation at all, so they show a nonchalant demeanor, thinking that everything can be handled by Vice Admiral Garp. Vice Admiral Garp this time. It's really impulsive. A lot of consideration is missing. Worry. Seeing Kasha's worried expression, he couldn't help laughing. Advertisement. Marine's questioning voice. So what? What sense? Pointless behavior. What's wrong with being a Marine ensign yourself? Not Marine Vice Admiral. Not Marine Admiral. With one's own strength, isn't it an ordinary thing to become a Marine ensign? Would anyone dare to yell? If so, Layfon wouldn't mind shutting these people down properly. What happened to 7 years old? Can't become a Marine ensign at the age of 7. Who stipulated this? If you can't even accept a 7-year-old Marine ensign. Then after a while, if I try to attack the Marine Rear Admiral's military status, wouldn't it make these guys go crazy? Further, if I can reach the level of Marine Vice Admiral this year, what about them? Layfon couldn't help thinking. 7-year-old Marine ensign. Is this worth mobilizing? If you can't even accept the 7-year-old Marine ensign, how can you accept the 7-year-old Commodore, even the 7-year-old Rear Admiral, and even the 7-year-old Vice Admiral? There's no need to mention other things for the time being. Follow me to get my ensign badge. It's okay to think about tomorrow's matter tomorrow. Layfon didn't choose to get too entangled with Kasha, these upcoming tedious troubles. After all, Kasha is just a small sergeant. He is not even an ordinary Marine officer, and he is not qualified to discuss these matters with Layfon. Junko, who belongs to the grassroots of Marine, can be regarded as the upper class among the grassroots. But all the while, they couldn't get rid of the hierarchical category of the grassroots. And Layfon, the direct entry is Marine ensign. It is 2 levels higher than Kasha, and it is a formal Marine officer, who can have subordinates who lose money, and the right to independently go to sea to carry out orders and tasks. These are all powers that Marines such as Sergeant Cao and Cao Chong do not possess. Layfon ensign, follow me. After calming down the complicated mood a bit, Kasha took a deep breath, his expression returned to his original appearance, and then led Layfon out of here. His mood still seemed very complicated and unspeakable. But since Layfon has said so, he can't mention too much, he can only secretly label Layfon as a bad guy. The trend that Kasha expected in his heart is, tomorrow, Garp's prestige and influence will fall to the bottom, ushering in an unprecedented downturn. And all of this was caused by the Layfon in front of me. None of this would have happened without Layfon. It's really pitiful for the parents of the world. Even Vice Admiral Garp is no exception. Kasha shook his head. It took about 3 minutes. Layfon came to the Marine office smoothly. Here, you can see many staff members wearing Marine uniforms, as well as Marine officers wearing Justice coats coming and going. The number of Marine officers wearing the Justice Code is not small, but it seems a bit large. It seems that the identities of Marine officers are cheap Chinese cabbage, which can be seen everywhere here. To know, only Marine officers can wear the Code of Justice. The minimum standard threshold for Marine officers is Marine Ensign. It also means, most of the Marines that appear here are Marine Ensign and above. There are not many people like Marine officers, all of them are here busy with their own affairs. The huge office seemed extraordinarily noisy and bustling. The place is spacious and the Marine is congested quite a bit, making it a bit crowded. Layfon Ensign, this way. Kasha quickly found a staff member in a Marine uniform. Step closer. Layfon stood beside Kasha, looking at the staff in front of him. This is a tall beauty, wearing a Marine uniform. She looks very beautiful and full of youthful vigor, with a professional smile on her delicate face. Her name is Alice. 2. What help do you need? Very polite greeting. Then, Kasha hesitated, forgetting to glance at Layfon. Instead, he took a deep breath, and as if mustering up his courage, he opened his mouth hard. I'm here to register a lot of relevant information about Marine Ensign, and to receive Marine Ensign's dedicated badge. Asking for flowers. Sir, is it me? No, it's not. Advertisement. Then who is it? Yes, it's him. With a dry throat, Kasha pointed to Layfon beside him. Then, a pair of big watery eyes, full of astonishment, fixed on Layfon's body. In this small space, the atmosphere suddenly became strange. Silence. The atmosphere here is in sharp contrast to the noisy surroundings. Quite a while. Only then did Alice come to her senses, biting her pink lips lightly, her expression a little annoyed. Sir, this joke is not funny, please be serious. I'm busy with my time, so I can't play around here with you. This is the Marine office, not a place to play with you. If you are in a hurry, you can go to the mission hall and get the mission to go to sea to fight against the pirates, instead of spending my time here. She can tell at first glance. The Layfon in front of me is 7 years old at most. A 7-year-old child. Come here to register the relevant information of Marine Ensign. Claim your Marine Ensign badge. What a joke. This joke is too much. 0.0. Do you really think everyone is an idiot? Could it be? A 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Is it possible? Impossible. There is no possibility at all. Anyway. Alice has worked here for many years and has never seen a similar example. Do not. More specifically, even if she checked all the records of Marine in the past, there has never been such a horrible example. 7-year-old Marine Ensign. This is simply impossible. It did not exist in the past, and it is impossible to appear in the present and in the future. Marine ensigns under the age of 20 are all top geniuses, and each of them is extremely rare. It is a year, so few examples will appear. As for Marine ensign under the age of 10, what is that? Genius. Monster. There has never been a similar example in Naval Headquarters, so Alice can judge with certainty. Kasha in front of him must be playing around on purpose. Wasting her working hours. This made her feel a little angry. No, please listen to my explanation. Look at this announcement document personally issued by Marshal Sengoku. Kasha blushed, and anxiously took out an announcement document from his arms, and then hurriedly handed it to Alice in front of him. After receiving the announcement document, Alice was still a little angry, obviously not trusting Kasha's so-called explanation. But adhering to her own good professionalism, Alice still gritted her teeth, suppressed her inner impatience, and let herself quickly read the above content. Immediately afterwards, visible to the naked eye, the expression on her delicate face is undergoing earth-shaking changes at a very obvious speed. From the original anger, it gradually changed to consternation, horror, shock, horror. Countless emotional turmoil. It seems that at this moment, all of them are changing wildly from Alice's exquisite face like a revolving lantern. This was the first time in her life that her emotions were so out of control and had such a drastic change. There is no other reason. What is happening now is really too shocking to the world. It completely overturned her cognitive view for many years. A long time. It took Alice a lot of effort to suppress the shock in her heart a little bit. But even so, her mood was still surging like a sea wave, unable to calm down. I turned my gaze. Alice's eyes were wide and round, and she looked at the young figure of Layfon who was standing next to Kasha with a face of bewilderment and horror. 7 years old. 7-year-old Marine officer. Are you mistaken? Advertisement chapter 148 Sour. I hate guys with backgrounds the most. Open black lens bracket 2/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. What are you kidding? 7 years old. Marine officer. 7-year-old Marine ensign. Obediently. Real or fake? Alice's big watery eyes were full of shock, her pretty face was stunned, and her pupils were fixed on the young figure of Layfon in front of her. Her mood was stirred up by huge waves and could not be calmed down. So horrifyingly mundane. Really right. Marshal Sengoku's announcement, is it really correct? Countless thoughts poured into Alice's heart, making her feel ecstatic. She tightly held the notice with both hands, and couldn't help but tremble slightly. In the lower right corner of the announcement, the bright red Marshal seal appeared in her pupils extremely dazzlingly. Let her completely eliminate the possibility that this announcement document is a forgery. No one has the courage to forge the announcement of the Marine Marshal against. Only. The above content was so unbelievable that Alice was deeply shocked, and her thinking became chaotic. Is this true? Alice's pink lips moved slightly, and she looked at Kasha in horror. Of course. Kasha nodded. How old is he? Alice turned her eyes again, looking at Layfon, her pink lips trembling with, 127. 7 years old. Layfon Ensign, no years old. Kasha answered truthfully again. Then, Alice became more and more confused. Really 7 years old. A 7-year-old Marine Ensign was born. God, this is 7 years old. Even less than 10 years old, became a Marine Ensign. Can anyone explain what is going on here? Marshal Sengoku's announcement is here, there is no forgery or falsehood. Kasha then affirmed again. But, Alice still didn't dare to imagine, her words were trembling. She has been in office for many years, and this is the first time she has experienced such a horrible thing. There are not many people who come to register Marine Ensign information, although Marine Ensign can already be regarded as a Marine officer. But over the years, the Marine officers in the Marine have also been numerous. Nature. Alice can still be seen occasionally on weekdays, and she doesn't belong to the unattainable Marine officer class. But she saw it for the first time. A 7-year-old, here to sign up for Marine Ensign. How can that be? This is far too exaggerated. Only 7 years old. How could he be given the rank of Marine Ensign? Can't figure it out. Alice's head was dizzy, and she still couldn't figure out what the reason was. If the person who achieves Marine Ensign within the age of 20 is a genius. How would you describe someone who is less than 10 years old, who is only 7 years old, and who is enough to be a Marine Ensign? Oh my god, what kind of monster is this? What happened in front of her severely impacted Alice's worldview. Her worldview is about to collapse. Ma'am, please deal with it as soon as possible. Kasha couldn't help reminding. Advertisement. Ah, good. Alice exclaimed, bit her pink lips lightly, suppressed the vibration in her heart, and quickly took out some materials and placed them on the table. At the same time, the little movement that happened here also attracted the attention of many people in this huge office. When aware of the ins and outs of things, Marine, who stayed in the whole office, was seriously shocked. What the hell? 7-year-old Marine Ensign. This is not a joke, is it? Ever since, pairs of eyes full of shock and horror stared blankly at Layfon's young figure, his gaze froze and he could no longer move. A tall woman wearing a justice coat is more conspicuous. She has long pink hair, wears dark pink sunglasses on the forehead protector, has exquisite facial features, and wears black gloves. Under the justice coat, she was wearing a pink-brown dress uniform, which outlined her graceful and tall figure, making her even more brilliant and eye-catching. You can tell by looking at the Marine rank insignia on her shoulder. She is a naval headquarters colonel. It is called by countless pirates in the sea. Black Threshold Hina, 7-year-old Marine Ensign. What are you doing? Hina frowned, biting a cigarette with pink lips, and staring at Layfon not far away with her beautiful eyes, her expression was full of weirdness. When did those guys above become so childish? Let a 7-year-old be the Marine Ensign. I'm afraid that the other party's teeth don't even grow. Since I bumped into it, there is no reason to stay out of it. Little devil, although I don't know how you did it, it is obvious that you must not have obtained the Marine Ensign status through formal means. What I hate the most in my life is that people like you can easily get the goal that others have been trying to pursue by relying on crooked ways like you. Existence like you is simply discrediting our Marine. Shame. Hina snorted coldly and bit off the cigarette from the corner of her mouth. Then, with her long legs, she walked towards Layfon step by step, looking menacing. See, many Marines around showed looks of anticipation. It's Colonel Hina. This kid, although he doesn't know how to do it, at the age of 7, he was given the rank of Marine Ensign by Marshal Sengoku. But I know that he is going to be unlucky today. What Colonel Hina despises the most is these Marine mobs who obtained the status of Marine officers through unfair means. You know, Colonel Hina has spent a lot of sweat and hard work to have the status and identity he has today. But when all these efforts become insignificant, it will be very lacking in fighting spirit and belief. A group of Marines quickly turned from shock to sour. First got Marine Ensign at the age of 7, what else can I do besides go through the back door? So sour. The brat. There must be a huge background. Otherwise, how could he obtain the official title of Marine Ensign from Marshal Sengoku at the age of 7? For a while, the huge office is filled with a strong sour smell. A group of Marines looked at that young figure with sad faces. They can't wait to see it now. The picture of Hina teaching that brat a lesson. Soon, Layfon completed the registration of all the materials and successfully obtained the Marine Ensign badge. I thought, things here will come to an end for now. Never thought about it. The moment he turned around, Layfon saw a tall beauty, Marine, wearing a coat of justice, with a cigarette in the corner of her mouth, looking down with an unkind expression. Colonel Hina, advertisement. Kasha's expression became respectful and reserved, and he quickly straightened his back and saluted. Little devil, do you know what Marine Ensign means? Hina's face was unkind, and her tone was aggressive. The identity of Marine Ensign means that from now on, the lives of most ordinary people will be on their shoulders, and they will shoulder the task of protecting the order of the sea. And the main way to judge whether a person can be a Marine Ensign is strength. Let me weigh it. You little brat weighs a lot. At the age of 7, you can be given the official title of Marine Ensign. Is this mocking our previous efforts as just a joke? Without warning, Hina suddenly exploded. She chose to do it. Aside, Kasha's pupils shrank, his face turned pale with fright, and he hurriedly tried to stop it. Colonel Hina, don't be impulsive. Colonel Hina. You don't even know who you are attacking. This is the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. To be frank, Colonel Hina, you can't be bothered at all. If you are not careful, your identity as Colonel Marine will be lost. So impulsive, confused. The identity gap is too big. Colonel Hina, if this wave of yours really hurts this person, then you will be miserable. Pity. Kasha's movements were still a beat slower. His strength does not allow him to stop Hina's sudden attack, otherwise, he would not have remained just a low-level Marine Sao. Hina, it's the majestic naval headquarters colonel. His strength and identity surpassed his countless levels. It's over, it's over. Maybe, I'm going to suffer too. Kasha looked terrified. A strong air current swept over. Accompanied by it, there was a faint scent of fragrance. Coming. Looked up. Layfon could see that Hina's pretty face was full of anger, and that pair of hands in black gloves were ready to press down on her forehead. The action is fierce, and without sloppiness. Just do it if you disagree. What a violent woman. Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly. I see. Hina's movements were infinitely slowed down in his eyes. Slow. Too slow. 2.8. With Layfon's current level of strength, the pupil can clearly and accurately capture Hina's offensive movements and trajectory, as well as the latter's many weak spots. It can be said that, full of loopholes, my strength has improved too much. Compared to before, it is several times stronger. The most important thing is, my physique has been strengthened many times. As a result, I can have a strong sense of danger in the actions of the enemy's attack. Even my vision has become extraordinarily clear. Layfon's pupils can clearly capture the tiny pores on Hina's beautiful face, which is already close at hand. Every pore can be seen clearly and carefully by Layfon. Even the slightest traces, as if presented in a magnifying glass, are magnified countless times under Layfon's eyes, and the extremely clear things are now in his sight. The improvement of physical fitness brings the improvement of 5 senses. Such as vision, hearing, smell. In every aspect, Layfon is much stronger than before. It can be said that his body has undergone another earth-shaking change and sublimation since this morning. Advertisement Chapter 149 Colonel Naval Headquarters. That's it. Open black lens bracket 3/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Hina's sudden attack was swift, violent, and relentless, and she didn't show any signs of showing mercy. She seemed to want to vent all the anger in her heart. Aim at Layfon's head, and use those hands with black gloves to smash it down hard. A strong air current blows over Layfon's face. Everyone present was looking forward to the scene where Hina made a move on Layfon. They were full of sour smell, watching this sudden change with great interest, looking forward to seeing Layfon being severely taught. Conflicts broke out in the Marine Affairs office, not once or twice. It can be said that conflicts broke out here, which can be said to be a daily behavior. Although it is banned every time, in fact, most Marines will use this office as a place to resolve conflicts. The behavior of doing it as soon as you say it will appear more common here. It's over, it's over. Colonel Hina, you will kill yourself. Kasha looked at Hina's posture with panic. He feels. He himself may suffer. He only hoped that Hina wouldn't teach her a lesson too seriously. Otherwise, he really couldn't explain to the adults who arranged tasks for him. Layfon Ensign, don't be beaten so badly. Anyway. You also have to demonstrate the strength of your Marine Ensign. But after thinking about it, Kasha laughed and shook his head and sighed. That's ridiculous. He actually expects a 7-year-old child to be able to resist the attack from Hina. Isn't this a joke? Now, I'm in big trouble. Colonel Hina is in big trouble too. Kasha felt powerless and worried. Almost all the people in the Marine office were looking forward to the scene of Hina teaching Layfon. 14 Question. How can a 7-year-old child defuse the attack of Colonel Hina, the Marine? Of course this is impossible. A strong air current swept over Mom's body. Little devil, this lesson is for you to learn the rules of Marine survival in advance. The jungle eats the strong. Strength is the foundation of everything. Without strength, the so-called background identity is meaningless. Hina snorted, and her hands didn't slow down at all. Seeing Layfon's motionless appearance, Hina frowned, and her pretty face became increasingly hostile and angry. Don't even have the ability to react. With this strength, how about Marine Ensign? I really don't know what Marshal Sengoku thinks, actually let a 7-year-old child who has no strength to restrain a chicken, be the Naval Headquarters Ensign. This is too childish. After I finish teaching this brat, I will argue with Marshal Sengoku. How can it be so childish to let a 7-year-old child serve as a Marine officer? Isn't this putting the lives of countless Marines in the hands of a 7-year-old child? Abominable. Near. It's getting closer. Just before reaching the top of Layfon's forehead. Layfon raised his head suddenly, and looked at Hina who was close at hand with a smile. Under the gaze, it can be clearly captured that Hina's hands are getting closer. Very fast. However, in Layfon's eyes, all these rapid movements seemed to be weakened countless times, and the speed was as slow as a snail. This is because of Layfon's terrifying visual abilities. Advertisement. After physical improvement, Layfon's vision has become super strong, as well as hearing, smell, and the 5 senses have been leapfrogged and improved in almost all aspects. Therefore, in the face of Hina's attack, Layfon's vision can capture Hina's movements so clearly, and then slow down Hina's movements countless times for observation. When Yang's speed, I don't need to be awakened, I can predict countless dodging trajectories in advance. Improvement of the 5 senses, self-perception and prediction of danger. Quote. Although it is not as pure as the color of knowledge and knowledge, it is already similar. The strength of this violent woman is still too weak after all. Colonel Naval Headquarters, is this the only level? You know, Colonel Pakato's strength is far superior to yours. But even Colonel Pakato dare not show such a relaxed attitude when facing me. Therefore, there is only one possibility to meet your fate. That is, Layfon raised his right arm slowly. A layer of black armed armor quickly spread from the right arm, and terrifying and majestic power emerged from the body, all gathered in the right arm. Gradually, the black armed armor completely covered one arm. It seems that the right arm is covered with a layer of indestructible armor, exuding spiritual power and terrifying aura. The icy air spread from the armed armor to all directions. The surrounding temperature seemed to plummet. It's getting a little chilly. The coldness breeds, and it looks a bit biting as the breeze floats. That moment, Hina's whole body seemed to have fallen into an ice cave. The cold made her tremble uncontrollably, and a look of horror and shock appeared on her beautiful and delicate face. Her pupils were fixed on Layfon in front of her. She can feel it. My actions seem to be released infinitely. Do not. More precisely, it was Layfon's movements that were too fast, and it seemed that her own movements had become extraordinarily slow like a snail. Great contrast. It surprised Hina. Did he react? Hina's pink lips moved slightly, causing huge ripples in her mood. Very quick response. She was so fast that she couldn't keep up with the opponent's movements. Then, right in her line of sight, a palm as black as ink was constantly enlarging, almost trying to cover her vision. This palm seemed to be wrapped in a layer of black armed armor, with an indestructible and rigid aura, and the coldness that rushed to the face filled Hina's body. It made her tremble all over, her hair stood on end, and her goosebumps rose crazily. Her body seemed to be locked by a gust of chi. Even the space around her was squeezed and deformed, making the space squeezed and shrunk, so that her body was tightly confined in this narrow range, unable to move at all. It's like being watched by a ferocious beast. Let Hina feel that the crisis rises and falls, lingering around the body. It's not good. Hina's pink lips moved slightly. Catches the eye. A giant palm has blocked her vision. She can't dodge. Her body couldn't keep up with the reaction, the space around her was squeezed by the terrifying air current, and she could only watch helplessly as the 10 black palms grabbed at her face. This brat. Hina was shocked. This moment, all the remaining anger in her heart disappeared, turning into endless fear and shock, firmly rooted in her heart. How would you describe Hina's feelings at the moment? It's just like a lonely raft floating in the middle of Wang Yang's boundless sea. Advertisement. Dark. The boundless darkness eroded, constantly shortening the open and bright space in all directions. Isolated. Helpless. A deep sense of helplessness filled Hina's heart. For the first time, Hina faced such an incredible situation. How could I actually feel boundless helplessness from a 7-year-old child? Hina herself was shocked. What's going on? How can a 7-year-old child endow himself with such strong helplessness and crisis? This is not scientific. For a while, Hina is turned into a customer. An offensive brood by her has turned into that she is on the attack side. On the other side, Layfon in her eyes has become an active offensive party. When the young Layfon appeared in Hina's eyes, her expression was full of shock. She still can't believe it. A child who is only 7 years old can actually bring such a majestic sense of oppression to her majestic Colonel Naval Headquarters. She's Colonel Naval Headquarters. The one in front of me is just a 7-year-old kid. Illusion. Hina stared at the huge black palm infinitely enlarged from her pupils, and shook off all the absurd cold heads in her head. This is not an illusion. A strong air current rushed towards her face, tearing at her delicate face, making her delicate pores seem to be washed away, and her cheeks were a little stinging from being swept by this strong air current. Could this be an illusion? Of course not. If it is an illusion, it is impossible to have such a terrifying power as 043. FFLX. All of this is an attack brewed by the 7-year-old kid in front of him. Immediately afterwards, waiting for Hina's reaction in shock. In full view, Layfon's right hand directly grabbed Hina's delicate and flawless face without mercy, pinched it fiercely, and pressed his fingertips under Hina's face. The right hand with the black armor is full of endless violent power, all concentrated on the arm, ready to be fully erupted and released at any time. One hand grabbed Hina's pretty face fiercely, and the huge force spread from the fingers, pressing Hina's face so painfully, it seemed that all 5 fingers were covered with bloodstains. Her facial features were twisted by this one hand. Only one hand is needed for the front and back process. Hina's originally beautiful face turned pale and bloodless, and even her delicate facial features were distorted like a ghost, making one's hairs stand on end. The sting came from the face. Under the fingers. Only Hina's pupils full of terror are revealed. Apart from the color of panic, the pupils also contain a deep sense of horror, fear, and panic. This hand firmly imprisoned her face, and she couldn't resist at all. The whole face seemed to be torn apart at any moment. But it was extremely easy to resolve all the offensives brewing from Hina. The ruddy blood color quickly turned pale. She stared at the master who was pinching her face. This made her charming face suddenly appear pale like a corpse, and her facial features were all deformed by the pressure of these 5 fingers, showing some signs of being distorted. That little boy who was only 7 years old. Hina could clearly feel that her face was pressed hard by 5 fingers, and the blood flowing from her face was directly suppressed. All the strength of the body was severely suppressed by this hand. This made Hina's limbs weak, and she could no longer move an inch, and it seemed that all the strength in her body was completely eroded and absorbed by this one, and swallowed up. Hina couldn't bear to take a breath and let out a muffled snort. Advertisement Chapter 150 Colonel Hina was surprised on the spot. Open black lens bracket 4/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Pain. Sting. The stinging pain was transmitted from the face, causing Hina to grunt and clenched her silver teeth. Her pretty face became pale and bloodless, her facial features were almost distorted, and she became as ferocious as a hungry ghost. Have to say, Hina at this moment can only be described in one word. Awful. That's horrible. A flower of marine, her pretty face was twisted and deformed by the pressure of a hand, her pretty face became ferocious and terrifying, and her paleness was as pale as a corpse. The charming Hina was crushed by this hand, her facial features were deformed and distorted. This moment, Hina couldn't move an inch, the intense pain was transmitted from the face to the body, her pretty face was pale, and her 10 pairs of pupils were full of shock and horror. She stared closely at the young figure who was only 7 years old in front of her. The body, motionless, is like a statue. It's not that she doesn't want to move, but that she can't move. The space around her was squeezed by a terrifying aura, trapping her tightly in this small space. The invisible oppression entangled her body and mind firmly. Pressure. The overwhelming sense of oppression was released from Layfon's body, covering Hina's body in an all-round way, squeezing every cell in her body. She couldn't help it, and began to tremble all over. One hand. Eliminate all Hina's attacks directly. In addition, he subdued her abruptly. With only one hand before and after, Hina was subdued strongly. One can imagine. How big is the difference in strength between the two sides? So strong that Hina couldn't resist. During the whole process, Hina didn't move too much, and was subdued to death. She no longer had any ability to resist, and could only be slaughtered. Now, have you calmed down yet? Layfon pinched Hina's delicate face with his right hand, his eyes twinkled, and his smile seemed playful. With a little force on his right hand, he squeezed Hina's face with 5 fingers, causing the skin on the latter's face to sag, leaving a series of bright bloodstains. Let Hina's beautiful face become a little ferocious and terrifying. You. Hina opened her mouth, feeling the huge force on her face, which made her unable to speak, and the stinging pain from her face still spread throughout her body. She couldn't even dream of it. She would be subdued by a 7-year-old child. Number 3. Spike. Good. An outright crushing spike. With just one face-to-face, all her attacks were easily resolved with one hand. This is incredible. Hina's worldview is almost subverted by the experience in front of her. One hand diffuses all her attacks and firmly subdues her. She can no longer brew any offensive and can only be at the mercy of her. Hina stood in front of Layfon, trembling all over. The endless majestic momentum squeezed her body. Let her legs be weak, and she may be paralyzed and fall to the ground at any time. Layfon's momentum is too majestic. Hina, who is close at hand, can feel it very deeply. How terrifying is this majestic aura coming from Layfon's body? This degree of oppression. How is this possible? It actually made me feel so strongly from a 7-year-old child. Hina's terrified pupils stared at Layfon's young face. Only 7 years old. 7 years old, is this scary? This unscientific. Go against common sense. Can't understand. Hina's mind became rigid. At the same time, this scene. Unsurprisingly, it fell into the eyesight of everyone in the 4 directions. Advertisement. The environment, which was still slightly noisy, has become silent. Dead silence. Silence. Pairs of eyes full of anticipation turned into shock, yuan-dong, and horror. The huge marine office became dead silent. There is no sound, dare to break the weird atmosphere here at this moment. The coldness breeds and sweeps the 4 directions. The temperature here seems to have plummeted a lot. Many people have goosebumps all over their bodies, only feel their scalp numb, and they are not cold. What's going on? It's not right. Something is wrong. This is too far from the picture result that all of them expected before. A group of people were stunned. They stared blankly at the scene in front of them. Fear, shock, many emotions rushed into their hearts crazily, gradually dominating their bodies. They were dumbfounded and transfixed. The scene in front of them caused a violent and surging tide to their emotions like a storm, which could not be calmed down. Everyone, without exception, looked at the scene in front of them with a dry throat. Including Kasha, who led Layfon here to register information, Alice, the beautiful staff member who was in charge of registration, and all the workers in the on-site affairs office. In addition, there are a large number of Marine officers gathered here in the office, as well as some Marine grassroots personnel. Counting everything together, there are no less than 100 people here. Right here and now, hundreds of people stared at what happened in front of their eyes with wide-eyed eyes. This was something that shocked the world and subverted their cognition. What did I see? A voice full of astonishment sounded from the crowd. The faint voice was extremely harsh and prominent in this silent atmosphere. The eerie atmosphere was broken by this voice. A Marine officer present at the scene, ranging from Marine Ensign, Marine Lieutenant Junior Grade, and even Marine Captain, all stared at the scene in front of them with wide-eyed pupils and shocked faces. Who is Hina? This is Colonel Naval Headquarters. Hina, the Colonel of Naval Headquarters, has already become a leader among the colonels in strength. But at this moment, what did they see? Hina, the Colonel of Naval Headquarters, unexpectedly. Be seconded. Isn't this being spiked? With one hand, all Hina's attacks were directly and comprehensively resolved. So much so that Hina couldn't move a centimeter. Isn't this a spike? Everyone is there for all to see, watching this shocking worldly thing happen in front of their eyes. They are not idiots. Of course they can see how serious Hina's current situation is. There were not many Marine officers present, but they were all Marine elites with impressive strength. Naturally, it was impossible for them to fail to judge the result of Hina being subdued by one move on the spot. But it was this result that really subverted their cognition. Who was Hina facing? That's just a little child who was only 7 years old. Doesn't that mean? Hina, it took a second for a 7-year-old child to see her face. Being subdued by a 7-year-old child with one hand. My God, this must be an illusion. Many Marine officers rubbed their eyes and opened their pupils again, but it was still inevitable to see this familiar and shocking picture in their eyes. It's not a hallucination. This scene made everyone present suspect that they had hallucinations. It's incredible. How could Hina, who is Colonel Marine, be instantly killed? Moreover, he was given a second by a 7-year-old child. What is this concept? Grunt. Advertisement. A group of people swallowed their saliva, their eyes full of horror and shock, unable to speak. At first, they expected that Hina would take the initiative to teach the guy who walked through the back door a lesson. Unexpectedly, things developed, completely opposite to what they imagined. Conversely, it was Hina who was seconded by the other party. This moment, all their so-called doubts and doubts about Layfon have disappeared. Strength is the best explanation. 7-year-old Marine ensign, so what? Isn't this strength enough to be a Marine ensign? One hand instantly kills Hina's strength, is it not enough to be a Marine ensign? That's just too much rubbing. I finally understand. 7 years old Marine ensign, I finally understand what it really means. At this moment, some Marine officers suddenly realized. Through the back door. With such terrifying strength, you still need to go through the back door. Even if he really went through the back door, this terrifying strength is here, who dares to have an opinion? People gradually understood. 7-year-old Marine ensign, why was it born? Not because of the back door. And it's purely. This 7-year-old Marine ensign has absolute strength in himself, and is competent to assume the identity and status of Marine ensign. When they saw Hina being killed in seconds, everyone present already understood. At the same time, the sour smell on their bodies also gradually dissipated. Acid. What's sour? If they possess such terrifying strength at this age, they can easily kill the strength of a naval headquarters colonel in seconds, who would dare to oppose them as Marine ensign. They should be sour, not the identity of the 7-year-old Marine ensign. Rather, it should be the terrifying talent possessed by that monster. Is there any reason? Such a terrifying power at such a young age. What kind of talent is this? Unimaginable. This talent is really terrifying and somewhat impenetrable. Hey, what kind of monster is this? Everyone couldn't help thinking about it. 7 years old, kill Colonel Marine Hina. What kind of terrifying strength can this be done? The key. Nuo Lihao. This guy is only 7 years old. At such a young age, he has such a terrifying level of strength. Where is this freak out from again? Colonel Hina, is it so weak? And this result was something that no one present at the scene could have expected. Non-existent. My God, he looks like he's only 6 or 7 years old. Being able to serve as Colonel Marine for many years, Hina's experience and strength are basically obvious to all and cannot be doubted. Soon there was a rebuttal. Everyone's thinking became confused and their faces were confused. It's not that Colonel Hina is too weak, but purely, the guy on the other side is too strong. That 7-year-old monster is powerful enough to easily kill Colonel Hina in an instant. I can't imagine what level of strength this 7-year-old monster is in. All of them are well aware of this. To be able to instantly kill Colonel Marine, the strength must have completely surpassed the colonel. Someone spoke weakly, but it was as strong as Hina, but she was instantly defeated on the spot. This can only show that the person Hina needs to face this time is completely superior to Hina herself in terms of strength by at least several grades. This strength, could it be that he started to practice in the womb? Do not. Of course it's not that Hina is too weak. But the person on the other side is too strong. Hina is weak. This will show the crushing result of Hina being subdued in an instant by a face-to-face. Advertisement Chapter 151 Marine Ensign. You say I am not qualified enough. Open black lens bracket 5/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. T. Colonel Hina, installed. Marine Sergeant Kasha, who was in charge of leading Layfon to the office and registering the Marine Ensign information, was stunned on the spot, froze in place, motionless. The scene that happened in front of him overturned his cognition. Original. Kasha is already ready to bear the siege of those big guys above. In his heart, he also began to look forward to Hina, hoping that the latter would not teach Layfon too much, otherwise this matter would be difficult to end. But never imagined. The result was completely opposite to what he had imagined. Hina unexpectedly got caught. With one hand, all of Hina's attacks were directly resolved, and Hina was firmly subdued and imprisoned, so that she could no longer brew any offensives and her body was frozen and unable to move. This scene fell into Kasha's pupils, causing his thinking to usher in a huge turmoil, and his whole head became extremely chaotic. Looks like a concussion. What the hell? This is Naval Headquarters Colonel Hina. The strength is among Colonel Marine, and it also belongs to the outstanding Hina. Unexpectedly, he was hit in seconds. How is this possible? The person who killed Hina in seconds was actually a child who was only 7 years old. Can anyone explain? What are these things happening now? Kasha's worldview has suffered an unprecedented impact. He was dumbfounded. Mind goes blank. The limbs of the body became extremely stiff. Layfon ensign. One slap in seconds, Colonel Hina. This, how is it possible? Kasha's lips trembled, his face full of horror. To date, his shaking mood still couldn't be calmed down. All of this overturned his cognition and caused his psychological endurance to collapse severely. Layfon, only 7 years old, killing Hina easily at the age of 7. What kind of terrifying level of strength is this? For a while, Kasha couldn't help thinking of the main purpose of bringing Layfon to the Marine office today. Why not fill in the Marine ensign registration information? 7-year-old Marine ensign. 777 inches, that's how it is. Suddenly, the many perplexities that plagued Kasha's mind were easily resolved. He figured it out. Many incomprehensible confusions are all resolved with what happened in front of me. 7-year-old Marine ensign, that's what it means. Suspect. Question. All similar emotions disappeared from Kasha's mind. One slap in seconds, Hina. Isn't this enough to explain the situation? This is strength. Absolute crushing strength. Is this strength not enough to be a Marine ensign? What a joke. Stronger than Colonel Marine, he was slapped in seconds. The strength possessed by Layfon is obviously superior to that of Colonel Marine. With this strength, who dares to question Layfon as Marine ensign? Finally, I understand why Marshal Sengoku would agree to let a 7-year-old child serve as the Naval Headquarters ensign. This strength is really too strong. At only 7 years old, he has such unimaginable and terrifying strength. Isn't it an ordinary thing to be a Marine ensign? I thought that Layfon ensign had gone through the back door. Unexpectedly, I am still too young. I never dreamed that Layfon ensign's strength could be so strong. -2009. One move in seconds. Colonel Hina, what level of strength is this? Kasha's lips trembled. Anyway, this level of strength, he dare not imagine. Far beyond the scope of his imaginable strength. Colonel Marine. This is already the mainstay of Marine, the elite powerhouse in Marine. But such an elite and strong man was instantly killed by a 7-year-old child. This naturally made Kasha's mood usher in waves of surging waves. Advertisement. What is happening right now? All subvert his cognition, and bring his cognition to the fate of shattering. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, Kasha certainly wouldn't dare to imagine it. The dignified Colonel Marine will be met by a 7-year-old child in seconds. It's incredible. Back door. Does the strength of Layfon bead ensign really need to enter the back door? Do not. No need at all. I even feel that Marine ensign status has wronged Layfon ensign. With his strength, he should get a higher official title. With one move, you'll be gone in seconds. Colonel Hina, what a terrifying strength this is. Kasha's head was in a mess, his thinking was stagnant all the time, and even his words seemed extraordinarily incoherent. His mood was too shocked. Obviously, all the things that are happening right now have almost subverted his worldview. This made Kasha speak incoherently and his thinking was confused. No wonder Vice Admiral Garp, Marshal Sengoku and the others would let a 7-year-old child serve as Marine ensign. This is no child's play. This is an act that will only be agreed upon after serious consideration. Even, the official status they gave is a bit low. At least based on Kasha's knowledge, he can conservatively estimate Layfon's strength at the moment. Layfon's strength may not be inferior to that of Marine Commodore. Letting a boss whose strength reached the Commodore level, to serve as Marine ensign, isn't this a grievance? What is it? Just like, let a person with Admiral's top strength stoop to be an ordinary Rear Admiral. Both mean basically the same thing. Marshal Sengoku and Vice Admiral Garp, they are such a painstaking arrangement. But I can't see through their intentions at all, and think they are using their power for personal gain. I'm really ashamed, I don't deserve to be a Marine. Kasha showed a deep shame, and quickly lowered his head. Now he understands it deeply. 7 years old Marine ensign, what does it mean? Through the back door. No need at all. This strength has completely surpassed Colonel Marine, so do you still need to go through the back door? This is a joke. With such a formidable strength, no one would dare to object to directly taking down the status of Colonel Marine. Just Marine ensign, what's the problem? Did not see. Even Hina, who is one of the most outstanding colonels in Naval Headquarters, was given a second face-to-face. Isn't this strength enough to explain the problem? Layfon ensign, really strong. One move, and you're gone in seconds, Colonel Hina. Before, I actually thought that I could challenge such a terrifying existence. I really don't know what it means, just sit and watch the sky. It's ridiculous for me, I haven't been able to see that Layfon ensign's strength is so terrifying. I also think that Layfon ensign is purely a guy who walks through the back door. If at that time, I really regarded Layfon ensign as a guy who walked through the back door, and my tone of voice was rude to Layfon ensign. What will happen to me? Think about it. Suddenly, Kasha couldn't help but feel his scalp tingling and shuddering. 182. That's the real finish. The strength that can instantly kill Colonel Marine, if you use it to deal with him, wouldn't it be easy to catch? Grunt. His throat rolled, and Kasha swallowed, with lingering fear and a frightened expression on his face. 5. My attitude has always been respectful, and I have never offended Layfon ensign, otherwise things would be in big trouble. Layfon ensign, you have hidden too deeply. With such terrifying strength, no news has been revealed in advance. In vain, I almost really treated you as an ordinary child. Kasha felt very grateful. The essential. Kasha never thought that Layfon would be so powerful. After all, how strong can a 7-year-old be? And this idea was the previous idea of most people present. Just ask. A 7-year-old child, no matter how strong he is, how rich can he be? This moment, these people, they really saw clearly. How strong a 7-year-old can be. Ridiculously strong. So strong that it can instantly kill Hina, one of the best colonels in Naval Headquarters. Advertisement. This is the terrifying strength level of a 7-year-old child. Above the colonel, power class in the Commodore. And even, straight to the level of Rear Admiral. 7-year-old, Marine Commodore power class. Oh my god. This is a complete monster. Even if you start cultivating in the womb, you shouldn't be so strong, right? Can anyone explain to me what's going on here? There are still many people who only feel dizzy in their foreheads, and they have not been able to react so far. Only because, what happened in front of me was too subversive. Let them not dare to believe it easily. 7-year-old. You call this terrifying monster a 7-year-old child? Alice, the beautiful staff member at the desk, who was responsible for taking out the data for Layfon to board the plane, was still dumbfounded at the moment. Of course she knows Hina. Hina is an acquaintance of the office and a frequent visitor, and often comes here for a walk. Nature. Over time, Hina has become acquainted and friendly with many staff in the office. That's why, only then did Alice deeply understand how powerful Hina is as a Naval Headquarters colonel. However, it was a colonel of Naval Headquarters who was so powerful, but at that moment just now, he was instantly killed by a single slap. What an incredible thing this is. All of this overturned Alice's cognition. The person who instantly killed Hina was a 7-year-old child. 7-year-old Marine ensign doesn't matter. Although the record of Naval Headquarters was refreshed, it was not enough to make Alice feel the collapse of the worldview. But what happened just now caused her worldview to collapse. Colonel Marine, kill a 7-year-old ensign. What the hell is going on in this world? Alice felt suddenly. She is becoming more and more unable to see through this terrible world, and also feels that she is becoming more and more ignorant. Layfon ensign. It's too strong to be scary. Alice's pink lips moved slightly, and her big eyes were blank, looking at Hina's embarrassed appearance after being subdued by one move. Embarrassed. It's just too embarrassing. Her first time. I saw that Hina, who used to be so heroic, was subdued in such a crushing way, and showed such an embarrassed posture. This formed a huge contrast with the haughty Hina in her impression. It was the first time for Hina, the colonel of the headquarters, to see such an embarrassed and extremely humble posture for her. Colonel and ensign, how many grades are different? Above ensign, there are lieutenant junior grade, captain, then major, lieutenant colonel, and finally colonel. There is a total difference of 5 levels between the two. However, what was presented in front of everyone at this time was: the colonel is hammered by an ensign. Or was it crushed so strongly by a 7-year-old Marine ensign? Have to say, this is the first time Alice has witnessed such an example. The people present were also witnessing it for the first time. And Layfon, there is no mercy. Marine ensign, now, say you are qualified enough. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, who would have believed it? The 7-year-old Marine ensign easily crushed a leader among Marine colonels. Humble, this is the current situation. While pinching Hina's face, the strength of his right hand has not weakened at all, as if he was going to destroy flowers with his hands, completely ignoring that Hina is a charming beauty. Close range. Embarrassed. Hina only felt that her face became more and more understanding. Then you have to be prepared for the consequences and the price you need to face after making the impulse. Impulsively chose to do it. In full view. Even Colonel Marine is no exception. He looked at Hina's pale, bloodless face with a meaningful smile on his face. Layfon pinched Hina's handsome face, and gradually brought it closer to his eyes. Her facial features were distorted by the pressure of her 5 fingers, and she became extraordinarily ferocious, and she could no longer see the heroic figure of Marine's flower. Her delicate and flawless face had already been bloodstained by 5 fingers, presenting on her pale and bloodless face, it was extremely conspicuous and prominent. Advertisement Chapter 152. Only 7 years old, alone intimidating the audience. Open black lens bracket 6/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. The voice fell. The voice full of playfulness, from Layfon's mouth, passed into Hina's ears smoothly. Although it wasn't loud, the moment it floated into Hina's ears, it was like rolling thunder, making her hearing hum. For a while, Hina's thinking became blank, she clenched her silver teeth, her pupils were full of horror and stared at Layfon, she didn't say a word, and she didn't intend to speak at all. How embarrassing. Even she herself felt that she was ashamed and thrown at the door of the house. Was instantly killed by a 7-year-old child. And the other party is still a 7-year-old ensign. And she is Colonel Naval Headquarters, the mainstay of the Marine who is 5 levels above the opponent, and a high-spirited member of the Marine officers. But even so, she was still unavoidable, she was instantly killed by one move. This naturally made Hina's mood hard to accept the current painful facts. For the first time, she experienced such a miserable defeat. It's too tragic. It's too embarrassing. During the whole process, she didn't respond, and she was subdued in an instant, unable to move. This defeat can be said to be the most painful defeat she has ever experienced in her life. The defeated one has no power to fight back, and was crushed the whole time. These desires crushed Hina's worldview, and completely shattered her self-esteem and self-confidence. I was instantly killed by a 7-year-old child. Hina's eyes were lost, and she looked devastated. She ignored the hand that was pinching her face, and also ignored the tingling sensation from her face all the time. She just knows. She lost. Lost to a 7-year-old. A 7-year-old ensign. Compared to her, the 7-year-old Marine ensign was 5 levels lower. Moreover, it is the kind of instant kill on the spot. An unprecedented sense of frustration filled Hina's heart. This brat, it's too scary to be strong. He is obviously only 7 years old. Hina couldn't help thinking about it. She still couldn't figure out how a 7-year-old child could have such a terrifying level of strength. What does it mean to be able to instantly kill her? This insinuates that the opponent, at least, has the powerful class of Marine Commodore. Doesn't this mean that a 7-year-old Marine Commodore? Real or fake? How is this possible? Hina's worldview has been completely overturned. How many years did it take her to accumulate her current strength? A 7-year-old child trampled under his feet so easily. How can Hina accept this cruel reality? The strength of working hard for more than 10 years. Is it not as good as others' years of practice? The strong contrast made Hina almost unable to breathe, and her heart almost stopped beating. It's not fair. Hina couldn't help roaring unwillingly in her heart. At the same time, aware of the weird atmosphere at the scene, many Marine officers who were in shock all reacted one after another, watching Layfon pinching Hina in horror. It's like catching a mosquito casually, insignificant. A naval headquarters colonel, in the hands of Layfon, is extremely humble and vulnerable. It is not just 1 or 2 people who have the same illusion. But almost everyone in the hall had this illusion. Colonel Marine, like an insignificant and weak creature, was pinched in a giant hand, and his life and death were only in the thought of others. Layfon ensign. It's just a misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding. Kasha trotted to Layfon's side in a hurry, and explained with awe and restraint, Colonel Hina has no malicious intentions, but just wants to discuss with you. Advertisement. He was really worried that Layfon would angrily beat Hina to death. If this is the case, then things will be troublesome. Although this incident was caused by Hina, she didn't intend to beat Layfon, but she just wanted to teach Layfon a lesson. No offense. Just discussing. Layfon narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled playfully. Turning his head, he quietly looked at Kasha beside him, making the latter feel goosebumps all over his body when he was stared at, and he felt his heart beating violently. Before he understood the horror of Layfon, Kasha would not have such violent emotional ups and downs. But after understanding the horror of Layfon's strength, Kasha deeply realized how terrifying and dangerous Layfon is. Therefore, facing Layfon again, Kasha's attitude is naturally completely different. Mr. Layfon, this is the Marine Affairs Office. We can discuss it, but if there is a serious injury, it will be very troublesome. Also, there is a high probability that Vice Admiral Garp will be alerted. Kasha lowered his voice, reminding him nervously. Will the old man be alarmed? Layfon frowned. Gradually. He turned his head and glanced at the many Marine officers around him. The weird thing is, all the Marine officers present, many Marine ensigns, lieutenant junior grades and even captains, when they met Layfon's eyes, they all moved away quickly, not daring to look at Layfon. No one dared to meet Layfon's eyes. Everyone was seriously intimidated by the eyes of a 7-year-old child. They subconsciously avoided looking at them, not daring to meet Layfon's gaze at all. It can be said that one person deterred the whole audience. Hundreds of people in the huge hall were deeply shocked by the strength Layfon showed just now. Stronger than Colonel Marine Hina, who was instantly killed. What qualifications do they have to challenge Layfon? A group of middle-aged Marine officers in their tens of years lowered their heads, their expressions full of apprehension and restraint, as if they were facing some high-ranking and important figure. It is not. They're just intimidated by what Layfon has shown, that's all. Never mind. Layfon scanned around, but found that no one dared to look at him, and immediately showed a boring expression, and waved his hands boredly. If it alarms the old man, it will be meaningless. So be it. Layfon released his right hand. Right hand just released. All I saw was that Hina's body fell rapidly, her legs were limp and paralyzed to the ground, and her figure looked particularly embarrassing, without the power of Colonel Marine at all. Visible to the naked eye. On Hina's pretty face, there are 5 bloodstains pressed by fingers all over her face, and her fair and pretty face is seriously affected by these 5 bright bloodstains. Exclamation mark. Call. Hina was paralyzed on the ground, breathing crazily, with a very chaotic breathing rhythm. The blood on her face gradually returned to rosy, and although she could still see the 5 bloodstains clearly, they were no longer as obvious as before. But the stinging pain on his face still kept coming, making Hina feel a dull pain, and he still remembered the humble moment when he was pinched in the face just now. Presumably, the incident of being killed in seconds just now is enough to make Hina remember it fresh in this life and never forget it. For the first time in her life. Such a miserable defeat. Such a dire situation. That moment, when Layfon was instantly killed, Hina had an illusion. If it's an enemy, she's probably dead. A crushed real instant kill. Asking for flowers. This brat. Hina ignored the stinging pain on her face, fixed her beautiful eyes on Layfon's young figure, bit her pink lips lightly, as if she wanted to keep this figure in her mind forever. A 7-year-old kid is so powerful. This was something she never expected. Because of this, she seriously miscalculated the opponent's strength, and was instantly killed on the spot. Advertisement. For the first time in my life I failed. Hina couldn't imagine that it would be defeated in the hands of a 7-year-old child. This moment, she no longer has any mood to question the matter of Marine Ensign. There is no need to question it anymore. Being able to instantly kill her, this strength is the best explanation. The best explanation to make everyone shut up. Strength is the foundation of everything. The strength displayed by Layfon is obviously far superior to Marine Ensign's strength class standard, but it is several grades above Marine Ensign. Colonel. Do not. Colonel above, at least the power class of the Marine Commodore. This point, Hina can be very accurate in her heart. The majestic sense of oppression that Layfon exudes gives her a somewhat stronger oppression than Commodore. 0. This made her 100% sure that Layfon's strength had at least reached the Commodore level. It is even possible that it can already hit the point of Rear Admiral. Doesn't that mean that 7-year-old Marine Rear Admiral? Hina opened her mouth, her eyes were lost. Obediently. Is it possible? It seems a little too outrageous. Exaggerated. Rear Admiral, that is a class that she can't even dream of. At least for now, it will take several years of accumulation and training for her to reach the threshold of the powerful class of Rear Admiral. And how old is Layfon in front of you? Only 7 years old. Can be touched at the age of 7, what is the strength threshold of Marine Rear Admiral? God, is there any sense in this? It's not scientific. No matter how talented a person is, it is impossible to be so outrageous. What kind of monster is it? Hina took a deep breath, suppressing the shock in her heart. She lost. Totally lost. Lost to a 7-year-old. Same. She didn't get annoyed that her face was red from being pinched, but she was shocked that Layfon's strength was so strong. What a terrifying talent this is. At the age of 7, his strength has reached this level. Although Layfon beat her and made her feel very embarrassed, she did not feel anger and other emotions towards Layfon, but was convinced. Hina would not have known if she hadn't played against Layfon today. All of this seemed unbelievable. She didn't have much dissatisfaction, but felt that her hard work these years was not as good as a child's years of cultivation, and she was deeply unwilling and touched by this. It's a monster. Genius. The terrifying strength displayed by Layfon has deeply impressed the Hina people. She was beaten. All in all, do not, in short, wrong. There is nothing to explain, and there is no need to bear a grudge against the other party. Even though things were coming to an end, Hina was still in a state of shock. What shocked her was Layfon's terrifying level of strength and his young age. If the strength is not as good as the opponent, then it is not as good as the opponent. Turn out to be. Skills are not as good as people, but skills are not as good as people. In this world, there really is such a terrifying genius. Advertisement Chapter 153 Sensation. 7-year-old ensign hit Naval Headquarters. Open black lens bracket 1/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Colonel Hina, are you all right? Kasha breathed a sigh of relief, wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, looked at the paralyzed Hina nervously and cautiously, and couldn't help asking. Close range. He can see too. Hina's pretty face, those 5 bloodstains, the bloodstains pressed out by 5 fingers, are extremely conspicuous and prominent, and cannot be concealed. It's so cruel. Kasha's heart tightened. He suddenly had a very deep understanding of Layfon's character. Too ruthless. Anyway, Colonel Hina, also a flower in our marine. Unexpectedly, he didn't show any mercy, and he did it when he said he would do it, or he did it to his face. This made Kasha feel a little nervous. They are so cruel to women, especially beautiful women. How cruel is it to the enemy? Wrong. And many more. Ball. Layfon Ensign, only 7 years old. What do you know about the difference between men and women? Like, probably, back. In the eyes of Layfon Ensign, there is basically no difference between men and women. I can't die. Hina took a deep breath, supported her body with her hands, and felt the sting from her face, but she didn't feel angry and hated Layfon because of it. On the contrary, she felt that Layfon had already kept his hand. Otherwise she will at least be seriously injured. That moment of confrontation. It has already made Hina understand that if this is a life and death battle, she has already died in the hands of Layfon. 2, 4, 3. As for the scars on the face, Hina didn't care too much. Her character made her not care about her appearance like ordinary women. If the face is injured, it will also be injured. In her opinion, it is a very common and normal thing. Little devil, you are really strong. Hina took a deep look at Layfon, her expression full of wonder and awe. Although she is a colonel, the Layfon in front of her is just a marine ensign. But the huge gap between strengths deeply made Hina feel awed by Layfon. Obviously, the powerful strength displayed by Layfon deeply impressed Hina. So far, Hina can't even imagine it. How did a 7-year-old child improve his own strength to such a level? All of this is too unbelievable. Anyway, Hina couldn't imagine what kind of training the opponent had gone through, and what terrifying talent he had, to have such a terrifying level of strength today. Good. Facing Hina's exclamation, Layfon replied very calmly. Strong. Can't talk about it. It's just that, in Hina's eyes, she is very strong. Layfon does not think that his strength can be regarded as the ranks of the strong when looking at the sea. After mastering all conquerors haki, Layfon has enough confidence that he has sufficient self-protection power in the sea. Before that, he didn't think that with his current strength, he could roam unscrupulously in this crisis-ridden sea. Even if he masters knowledge color and armed color, in Layfon's eyes, it is only a preliminary means of self-protection. As for the strong, still can't talk about it. Mastering the two-color hockey is only the threshold for stepping into the new world. If you want to run amok in new world, Layfon's current strength is still far behind. Good. Hina's pink lips twitched. She was suddenly speechless. Fine. This little devil is really incomprehensible. Even if he was polite, he seemed too lazy to tell himself. Anyway, she is also a famous beauty in Marine. In front of this little devil, there is not even a little bit of preferential treatment. This made Hina very depressed. Advertisement. But she was relieved when she thought that Layfon was only 7 years old. 7-year-old kid, what style do you know? If I ignore this kid's appearance, and just rely on his strength, personality, conversation and other aspects, I almost think he is an adult. What a horrible monster, Hina thought strangely in her heart. Layfon gave her the feeling that she was facing a grown man. Whether it is strength, or thinking in other aspects. They didn't bring her any childish feeling at all. It's all gone, it's all gone. Kasha hurriedly waved his hands to disperse the crowd of onlookers. Little devil, what's your name? Hina asked solemnly. Is it important? Layfon asked weirdly. Of course, because, sooner or later, I will surpass you. Hina clenched her fists tightly, with a confident and high-spirited expression on her face. It's okay to tell you, my name is Layfon. As for what you said, you want to surpass me. That's possible, you probably won't have this chance in your life. Layfon's words were sharp and merciless. Hina's expression froze. Immediately, she clenched her silver teeth, turned around and quickly left the huge hall. Watching the back of Hina leaving, Layfon also said to Kasha beside him, let's go too. All the information for registration here has been completed, and I have successfully received my own Marine Ensign badge. It is meaningless to continue to stay here. Yes, Layfon Ensign. Kasha nodded respectfully and nervously. After learning about Layfon's strength, his attitude towards Layfon was obviously more respectful, and he didn't dare to neglect at all, for fear of causing Layfon's dissatisfaction. Even Hina was seconded. Is he a hammer? He was a small sergeant, so naturally he didn't dare to shout in front of Layfon. Not to mention Layfon as Marine Ensign. Just now, the strength shown by Layfon is enough for Kasha to treat him with respect. Then, with a trembling mood, Kasha followed Layfon's footsteps, and the two quickly left the Marine office. All that remained was this group of Marines who were stupefied and still in a state of shock, not to mention Marine officers, such as Marine Ensign, Lieutenant Junior Grade and other elites. 7-year-old Marine Ensign. The point is, the 7-year-old Marine Ensign beat Colonel Hina on the spot. Terrible. I never dreamed that, as strong as Colonel Hina, I would be instantly killed by a 7-year-old child. By the way, do you know the name of this Marine Ensign? Forgot to ask. Anyway, there must be news about him tomorrow. After all, a 7-year-old Marine Ensign, this is the only one that our Marine has never seen in hundreds of years. One example. That's right, it depends on how much impact and turmoil it will have on our entire naval headquarters when this matter gets out tomorrow. After all, how would we feel about a 7-year-old ensign if we hadn't seen Colonel Hina killed in a flash? Everyone was in a frenzied state of mind and couldn't calm down for a long time. They are suddenly deeply curious and looking forward to the waves that will come tomorrow. A 7-year-old ensign. This example broke the previous Marine record. There has never been a Marine officer under the age of 10. And right now, Marine gave birth to the first Marine officer under the age of 10. This matter will definitely cause quite a stir. This point, everyone present can have a hunch. The next day, the sun is shining. The golden halo sprinkles from the sky, imprints on the soil, moistens everything, evaporates all the remaining moisture in the air, and fills the air with warmth. Marshal's office. Sengoku leaned back on the chair, frowned, leaned his hands on the desk, holding a document he had just drafted, and stared at the content above the document solemnly. This notice is conveyed. 7-year-old Marine Ensign will officially be born at Naval Headquarters. At this time, the copy Sengoku held in his hand was the official promotion notice document for Layfon to be promoted to Marine Ensign. Once this document is officially issued, that means things can't be changed. After thinking a lot, Sengoku hesitated for a while. Advertisement. Rules. Are you sure you want to break? With the first rule breaker, will there be a second? Sengoku felt a little worried. But on second thought, he thought, Layfon's amazing strength and talent. If you miss it, Marine will really regret it. What is a mere Marine ensign? Rules, aren't they made to be broken? What's wrong with breaking the rules when dealing with geniuses and monsters? Immediately, Sengoku's conviction became firm, and he quickly dialed the phone bug. Boo boo boo. The unique voice of the phone bug quickly spread and lingered in the huge marshal's office. I'm Sengoku, you go to the marshal's office. When the phone bug hangs up. About 3 minutes later. Boom boom boom. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Crunch. Pushing open the door, a Marine Rear Admiral wearing a Justice coat walked into the marshal's office and greeted him respectfully. Marshal Sengoku. Send out this promotion notice document and post it on the notice board. Sengoku handed the file to the Marine Rear Admiral. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. The Marine Rear Admiral, holding the document, quickly left the marshal's office. He didn't ask too much, because he is not qualified to ask too much. All in all, he just needs to obey Sengoku's orders absolutely. Watching the back of the Marine Rear Admiral leaving, Sengoku withdrew his gaze and lay down on the seat without saying a word, not knowing what he was thinking about. Paused. He suddenly looked out of the window with complex and unspeakable eyes. He had a strong premonition. A big storm will soon sweep the entire naval headquarters. And the source of this little turmoil is the promotion notice document he ordered to be distributed just now. Quote. What the hell are you trying to do? Sengoku whispered to himself inexplicably. No one knows. What does he mean by what he said to 2.8 in the end? According to Sengoku's instructions, Marine Rear Admiral took the promotion notice document sent by Sengoku and walked all the way to the notice board to post and distribute it. In the process of posting, he could clearly see the content above the notice file. The first person who was stunned was the Marine Rear Admiral who posted the notice. He was stunned. What the hell? 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Marshal Sengoku, what the hell does this mean? Did you make a mistake? 7-year-old Marine officer. True or false? Since then. Sensation. The moment when the notice file is posted on the notice board. Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? In an instant. This piece of news completely swept through naval headquarters. Oh my god. Not surprisingly. As a result, the huge naval headquarters ushered in a huge turmoil without warning. He rubbed his eyes, wondering if he had an illusion. It's not a hallucination. But when I opened my eyes again, I still saw the same content, without the slightest change from what I saw just now. Marine Rear Admiral was dumbfounded, his face full of shock. Exactly the same. The news is missing. This matter seems to be a bit serious. And the speed of transmission is extremely fast. It's a huge hit in naval headquarters, sparked by a 7-year-old ensign. Advertisement Chapter 154 The Hero's Grandson. Go through the back door blatantly. Open black lens bracket 2/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Since the promotion notice document issued by Sengoku, it has not been half an hour since it was posted on the notice board. The huge naval headquarters has been fully detonated because of this. Sensation. Unprecedented turmoil swept every corner of Marineford. When the news spread, all the Marines got the shocking and terrible news. The whole Marineford trembled violently under this news. Oh my god, really or not? The circular document issued by Marshal Sengoku actually claimed that a 7-year-old child would be promoted to Naval Headquarters Ensign. Go and see the notice board. The notice document has already been posted on it. In the lower right corner, there is also the Marshal's seal. There is no possibility of false forgery. Is this actually true? A 7-year-old child just joined the Marine and was promoted to Naval Headquarters Ensign by Marshal Sengoku. Can anyone explain to me what is going on? The brains of thousands of Marines were buzzing, and their thinking became chaotic. They were dumbfounded. They never dreamed that a 7-year-old Marine ensign would happen so suddenly and without warning before their eyes. How can a 7-year-old child, Hidehe, be able to serve as the Naval Headquarters Ensign? This is obviously unreasonable. It's not scientific. And nothing like it has been seen in Naval Headquarters for hundreds of years. Marine officers under the age of 10 never existed. It is precisely because of this. The Marines at Naval Headquarters will be so shocked after hearing this announcement. All of this breaks the rules. Completely refreshed the previous record of Marine. It's incredible. How can a 7-year-old be qualified for the position of Marine Ensign? Is this a joke? It would be too childish. 7-year-old 14 Marine Ensign. You know what that means. Marine Ensign already belongs to the officer status in our Marine. Although the status is not too high, he can independently control a warship to go to sea to perform missions, and he can lead 100 Marine subordinates. This is the power that Marine Ensign has. Now, this power is in the hands of a 7-year-old. It's a joke. A 7-year-old child has the right to independently drive a warship to go to sea to perform missions. In addition, can he dispatch 100 Marine subordinates to accompany him to the sea and wait for orders? Isn't this leaving the safety of our Marine soldiers in the hands of this 7-year-old child? Doesn't it take our lives seriously? All kinds of speeches started to emerge in an endless stream at Marineford. The entire Marineford has been fully covered by this news. Every corner is inevitably shrouded in news. Originally, there were not many major events in Marineford. With today's announcement, it is inevitable that the Marines in Marineford will be deeply shocked, and they will have different opinions and evaluations. From their perspective, this announcement document is simply a joke. What can a 7-year-old do? Can you become a Marine officer? What kind of international joke is this? In particular, for some Marine officers who have climbed up from the basic level of Marine, they have worked hard, spent countless energy and time, and barely raised their status to the status class of Marine Ensign. But today, what did they see? A 7-year-old kid who just joined Marine was promoted to Marine Ensign out of nowhere. Isn't this telling them that all their previous efforts were in vain? How can this be tolerated by them? Ever since, a group of people who had just been promoted to Marine Ensign started to go berserk. Also, the rest of the group, the Marines who had never even reached the Marine Ensign, felt even more bitter, and could not help but express their inner doubts and anger. I don't agree. I have joined the Marine for 6 years, and now I am only the Marine Corps Chief. Why, a 7-year-old kid can be a Marine Ensign just after joining the Marine? I've been in Marine for 12 years, but until now, I'm just a military officer, not even Chief Sao. Marine Ensign is too far away from me. I have experienced hundreds of battles, and I have killed several pirates who offered a bounty of millions of berry, but so far, I have barely reached the status of Marine Ensign. This little brat, what is he doing? There was a lot of talk. Advertisement. Naval Headquarters, almost completely blown up. All kinds of different opinions spread in all directions. The entire Marineford was completely enveloped by these speeches. The population of Marineford is no less than hundreds of thousands, and the official Marine is no less than 100,000. And the 100,000 Marines were almost moved by this shocking news. Many old Marines who have experienced many battles have not even achieved the status of Marine Ensign. Of course they are dissatisfied. Serious dissatisfaction. Why did the people above judge a 7-year-old kid as a Marine Ensign? What a joke. They are completely unacceptable, such a serious break with the rules. But at the same time, there is still a part of Marine who is calm and starts to think carefully. First of all, if you have to find a special reason. Then I want to know, what is the special reason that prompted this person to become a Marine Ensign? Let Marshal Sengoku personally bestow the official title of Marine Ensign on this kid. Why? I'd love to know that. What's so special about him? He was given the status of a Marine Ensign officer at the age of 7. This part of the calm Marine issued a sharper question. Yes, they want a reasonable explanation. As the saying goes. No wind, no wave. They don't think that Sengoku is a stupid person, and they don't think that Sengoku is an unreasonable person. Sengoku, who has served as marshal for many years, is an excellent marshal who is absolutely rational and accurate in all Marine orders in the eyes of most Marines. Therefore, they can't believe that Sengoku, who has always been fair and maintains an absolute sane state, would give a 7-year-old child the identity of Marine Ensign for no reason. There must be something hidden here. And what they most urgently want to know is the secret inside. What is the reason that Marshal Sengoku of the regiment issued this general notice document? Marshal Sengoku will not do such incomprehensible behavior for no reason. Do you think, with the character of Admiral Sengoku, how could he be so abrupt to give a 7-year-old kid who just joined the Marine, the rank of Marine Ensign? But what is the special reason? Many people fell into deep thought. At the moment when they were puzzled, a piece of news spreads. The truth is the truth. This 7-year-old kid, his full name is Monkey D. Layfon. When this piece of news passed into the ears of these people. Answer. Suddenly see the light. Everything becomes clear. All doubts and confusions will be solved easily. They also finally understood. A 7-year-old child, what on earth did he rely on to become the Naval Headquarters ensign? This moment, all doubts were successfully eradicated. They suddenly realized, and their mood became extraordinarily complicated. Emotion. The root of it all. It turned out to be an identity background. Go through the back door. My God, did I hear you right? Someone was shocked. Because, they feel unparalleled awe at Layfon's surname. No one can imagine it. The reason, it turned out to be like this. No one could have expected that Layfon would have a great relationship with the supreme existence of Marine. Am I hallucinating? Advertisement. Monkey D family. This. Everyone was dumbfounded and in a wild mood. They never expected. In this incident, there was actually another being involved, who was regarded as the supreme hero in their minds. Quote. Isn't that, Vice Admiral Garp's family name? Monkey D Garp. This, really is the Vice Admiral Garp family. Vice Admiral Garp, what is the connection with this brat? A group of Marines were all stunned. This turmoil has become even more boiling. Garp is all involved. Let this matter attract more people's close attention. Some Marine Vice Admirals have begun to pay attention to the turmoil that broke out today. The rapid development and changes of things made everyone unexpected and caught off guard. Unconsciously, even Garp was involved. Garp, that's the great hero of all of them. Marine's pillars. And this 7-year-old ensign, 990 has a connection with Garp. This confused many people. What does Layfon have to do with Vice Admiral Garp? This question was quickly answered. This 7-year-old kid is the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. When the news hit hard, Naval Headquarters detonated again. Great turmoil swept Marineford ahead. All Marines were deeply amazed and shocked. This brat, the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. This moment, everyone understands. Where is the special place of this 7-year-old ensign? And why? Let Sengoku give Marine Ensign the identity. Emotion. All this is because of the terrible identity background. Let Marshal Sengoku, the back door. This thought came to minds of countless Marines in an instant, and at the same time made them feel more and more sad and angry, and filled their hearts with deep unwillingness. Go through the back door. I understand. This is going through the back door openly. That means, all of them, never thinking of a second possibility, would prompt Marshal Sengoku to bestow upon a 7-year-old imp the status of Marine Ensign. 7-year-old Marine Ensign. When news spreads. Then, they worked hard for several years, but they couldn't get close to the identity of Marine Ensign, but they were allowed to go through the back door and directly reach the terminal of their dreams. Intolerable. The reason why Marshal Sengoku, who has always been fair and rational, gave this kid a Marine Ensign status is because this kid is the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. But the only explanation for this. Under the dissatisfaction and anger of this group of Marines, the huge turmoil caused by the promotion of Layfon to Marine Ensign has intensified. Besides, the hero's grandson. This is the only explanation and answer anyone can think of right now. Even the Marines who maintained a rational and calm mind in the end felt powerless and helpless, and the unwillingness in their hearts turned into grief and indignation. This brat walked through the back door openly and above board. But it caused the dissatisfaction and anger of countless Marines in naval headquarters, making them unwilling. Advertisement Chapter 155. Do you really think Layfon's title is for nothing? Open black lens bracket 3/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. Why? After working hard for more than 10 years, I barely became Naval Headquarters Ensign. During this time, how many hardships have you experienced? How many life and death battles have you experienced? This is the status and identity of today, and the privilege of enjoying the current status. However, a 7-year-old child, relying on the background and the backstage, trampled all their efforts under their feet. How can this be accepted by their hardworking Marines? Even if you want to go through the back door, it's not so outrageous. Right from the start, it is the identity of Marine Ensign. The essential. This is only 7 years old. How capable is a 7-year-old child? How can he be competent for the identity and status of Marine Ensign? What does Marine Ensign mean? Not only does it mean power, but it also means the burden and responsibility on the shoulders. He has a heavy responsibility for the safety of his subordinates. Just ask, how can a 7-year-old child ensure the safety of his subordinates? How to judge whether the situation is serious? How to judge whether the enemy can be defeated? And how to consider what tactics should be used to defeat the enemy? Can a 7-year-old child really develop his thinking to such an extent? Can you really consider such a comprehensive issue? The most important is, how strong can a 7-year-old kid be? Strength is the foundation of everything. I want to know, this 7-year-old kid, can his strength reach the level and standard of Marine Ensign? Don't be kidding, a mere 7-year-old child, how could his strength reach the standard of Marine Ensign? I thought, maybe even some of our recruits who just joined Marine are far behind. When I think about it, the strength of a dignified Naval Headquarters Ensign might not even be as good as a recruit egg. Isn't this a big joke? All kinds of angry and mocking remarks spread wildly in Marineford. This moment, not only Marines are deeply angry with Layfon. Also, even Garp was seriously affected. Garp, who has always been regarded as the object of worship and belief in mind, has become the object of people's dissatisfaction at this moment. Going through the back door is too open and above board. Even Garp, who is the hero of Marine, seems to be vaguely condemned. However, most of them only expressed their dissatisfaction and anger verbally, but they dared not go to Garp to confront them face to face. They obviously did not have such courage. But even the verbal dissatisfaction and anger caused by the many speeches still swept through Marineford, causing waves of turmoil in this huge naval headquarters. Lively. It's so lively. Marineford, it hasn't been this lively for a long time. But this time, because of a 7-year-old ensign, it became the source of dissatisfaction and anger among these Marines. Let Marineford, ushered in a very clear noise. Although they are all negative emotional effects, they still add a lot of lively and noisy seasonings to Marineford, which has always been boring. Even some vice admirals got involved, such as flying squirrels, ghost spiders, Huo Shaoshan, etc. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral are all deeply curious about this matter. They are a little puzzled. From what they knew of Garp, Garp wasn't the type to let relatives go through the back door. The character of the other party has always been very honest. This point, the veteran Vice Admiral and Marine are obvious to all. They also followed Garp, fought against pirates with Garp, and were also taught by Garp. Naturally, they know Garp better than most Marines. How can a dignified Marine hero be as unbearable as these Marines describe verbally? It's weird. What is Vice Admiral Garp trying to do this time? But having said that, when did Vice Admiral Garp have an extra grandson? In the past, we seem to have never heard of it. Vice Admiral Garp has a grandson named Straw Hat Luffy, who has been making a lot of noise among the pirates recently. I will understand this at the time. But I've never heard that Vice Admiral Garp has a 7-year-old grandson. What's the situation? A group of veteran Vice Admirals were puzzled. Advertisement. They were not too deeply affected by the so-called backdoor incident. For them, this kind of thing is just a trivial matter. Still can't get their real attention. Of course. When they have nothing to do, they don't mind observing to what extent this turbulent trend and development will evolve. The boring Marineford finally ushered in such a noisy and lively moment, and they naturally wanted to feel it well. There is something strange about this matter. Not to mention, Vice Admiral Garp suddenly had a 7-year-old grandson. From what I know of Vice Admiral Garp, he is not the kind of person who would casually make someone a Marine officer. What's more, he's still a 7-year-old kid. Can you think of the reason for this? A group of Vice Admirals were deeply curious. They are very familiar with Garp's personality, and they are all veteran Vice Admirals, so it is impossible not to know what kind of personality Garp is. Through the back door. Maybe there really was a back door to it that made a 7-year-old kid a Naval Headquarters ensign. But inside, there must be some reasons. These reasons are the main factors that prompted the birth of a 7-year-old Marine ensign. As for the back door, this is purely a small factor. When you mentioned it like that, I suddenly became very curious and wanted to know. What is so magical and special about this 7-year-old kid? As a result, both Vice Admiral Garp and Marshal Sengoku unanimously broke the rules for him and let a 7-year-old child serve as the Naval Headquarters ensign. I can't figure it out. But one can guess that there must be something unusual about this kid. Vice Admiral's thinking is completely different from most Marines. They did not question Garp and Sengoku's decision too much, but began to wonder what is so special about the 7-year-old kid Layfon. After all, Sengoku and Garp can be said to be admirers who will never be shaken in the minds of Vice Admiral and Marine, who have countless senior qualifications. This small disturbance still cannot change their belief in Sengoku and Garp. Turmoil sweeps through Marineford. The dissatisfied voices of countless Marines spread to that admiral's ears unstoppably. To this, the 3 admirals didn't want to mobilize the crowd, and they didn't intervene in it. They just showed some concern about it, and they didn't have the intention of paying too much attention. Marine Ensign was nothing more than a 7-year-old Naval Headquarters ensign, and it wouldn't cause them too much emotional ups and downs. They have already stood at the highest level of Marine. This kind of trivial matter naturally cannot attract their attention. Their time will not be wasted in this kind of place. Only Aokiji, paying attention for a moment. Anyway. His relationship with Layfon is relatively close. And I know Layfon, Aokiji much deeper than the other 2 admirals. 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Questions. No problem. Aokiji looked weird. Anyway, he didn't think there was any major problem with Tien Sui's Marine Ensign. Not right. To be more precise, it was Layfon who served as Marine Ensign, and Aokiji felt that there was no problem at all. On the contrary, he also felt that this position may be too low for Layfon. With Layfon's strength, it would be too wrong to be limited to Marine Ensign. If I didn't have a deep understanding of the kid's strength, I'm afraid I would have expressed doubts. 7-year-old Marine Ensign. Breaking the rules. But only this kid, Layfon, is different. Aokiji thought so in his heart. If it were any other 7-year-old Marine Ensign, Aokiji might have doubts like these Marines for many years. But a thought. The 7-year-old ensign is Layfon, and Aokiji thinks it's normal. This is simply the most normal thing. This brat. But the only one who can hurt me at this age. Advertisement. Mentioning Layfon, Aokiji suddenly felt a dull pain in his shoulder. He recalled, on the warship himself, teaching Layfon armament the embarrassing situation of hockey. Logia devil fruit, directly neutralized. Aokiji still has lingering fears. All of Admiral's face was lost at that time. Admiral, the dignified headquarters, actually gave a 7-year-old kid a knife. Although there is a premise that Aokiji is defenseless, not everyone can do such a terrifying feat like Layfon. For example, who can do it, control armament hockey at the age of 7? This alone is enough to eliminate 99% of the people in Dahai. Those so-called geniuses are not even worthy to carry Layfon's shoes. It is such a terrifying monster. This moment, in Marineford, there are still people who dare to question, doubt. Isn't this a joke? This brat, but at the age of 7, you can fully master the monsters that armament hockey has achieved. What's up with being a little Marine ensign? Who has an opinion? These guys are really blind. Even Aokiji felt that Marine ensign was serious. It's not too much to give a Marine Commodore. After all. Who of you have seen 7-year-old mastered armament hockey's monster? Have any of you ever seen 7-year-old freak running conquerors? And also, mastered it at the age of 7, comparable to Naval Headquarters Commodore's sword skills. 7-year-old Grandmaster Marine 6 styles. All these horrible examples, the whole pig gathered in one person. One can imagine. This must be such a terrifyingly gifted monster, Li Dahao. Is such a monster still being questioned? This is simply unreasonable. A bunch of blind guys. Come on, keep on making noise. These guys have no idea how loud they are at the moment, how loudly they will be slapped in the face by Layfon. I might be crazy that I'm expecting. Time for the kid Layfon to slap these guys in the face. Aokiji still feels a little tingling on his face. The face was slapped too hard by Layfon. This made Aokiji look forward to it. I want to find a group of companions who were slapped in the face by this brat like him. This kid, I blindly guess that he is already brewing how to use a more appropriate way to swell the old faces of these guys. Otherwise, how do you think Layfon, the face-slapping monster, got the title? Aokiji rubbed his face, and couldn't help complaining in his heart. I don't know why. Aokiji always feels that this is Layfon's trick on all the Marines in Marineford. It gave him a sense of familiarity. At the beginning, the situation where I was slapped in the face, and the current huge movement in Marineford, don't they happen to have similarities in the same way? This little brat, isn't he really caught up? The routines of these young people nowadays are really one set after another, and it is almost impossible to guard against. I can't afford to provoke. Cowardly, cowardly. Aokiji felt a little guilty in his heart. Advertisement Chapter 156 Garp. I want to promote my grandson Layfon. Open black lens bracket 4/6 for customization close black lens bracket. Advertisement. When Marineford caused a stir and made huge waves. Marshal's office. The atmosphere here is much more peaceful than outside. But occasionally, rumors of Marine's anger and dissatisfaction would come from outside the window, which inevitably reached the ears of Sengoku who was sitting in the seat. Garp, look, what a commotion you've caused me. Sengoku looked at Garp unkindly. At this time, opposite Sengoku, Garp is holding a senbei, lying on the sofa seat, with a nonchalant expression on his face, biting the senbei with a pleasant and loud sound. Garp. Sengoku's forehead bulged with veins, roaring with anger. It's alright, Sengoku, you're mobilizing people for such a small matter. Why bother? These guys, they just don't know that my grandson's horror is yelling here. Once they understand the horror of this kid Layfon, they will naturally know that the 7-year-old Marine ensign is just an ordinary thing. Garp's expression was full of leisure, and he didn't affect his usual mood turbulence at all due to the movement of the outside world, appearing to be extraordinarily old-fashioned. Seeing Garp's expression, Sengoku felt helpless. Paused. Sengoku took a deep breath, and asked earnestly, Garp, tell me honestly, what are you planning? What are you planning? I always feel that things have developed to this point, as if you did it deliberately. Really, Sengoku has always had the feeling that with the turbulence in Marineford today, it seems like Garp is deliberately pushing the situation to this point. This is beyond Sengoku's comprehension. What is Garp thinking in his heart? What else are you planning? Ha ha ha. Garp was taken aback for a moment, and then he couldn't help laughing out loud. Laughter spread loudly, lingering in the huge marshal's office. It seemed that the whole office was shaken by this burst of laughter. It was actually guessed by you, Sengoku. It seems that the old man is really not good at making these so-called layouts. You have to let Sengoku, an old ghost market like you, do this kind of insidious thing. Garp burst out laughing. Heard the words. I saw the veins on Sengoku's forehead throbbing wildly. His emotions had obviously reached the verge of losing control, and his face was full of anger, staring at Garp tightly. Are you human? What is this kind of shady thing, and you have to let me, an old yin coin, do it? T. Emotion. In your eyes, Garp, I'm just an old coin. Can't bear it. Garp, you be D. Sengoku stared at Garp with eyes full of anger, and shouted in a cold voice, hurry up, what are you preparing for? Is it the situation you want to see for Marineford to usher in this big movement? He didn't feel right at first. Until these Marines were really aroused and fully mobilized before Sengoku realized that something was not quite right. Although things developed in line with his expectations. But it seems that everything is under control. This feeling made Sengoku immediately think of Garp. Things happen for a reason, and it is impossible to have no symptoms. And the biggest reason is Garp. Sengoku, what do you think of my grandson Layfon? Garp didn't answer right away, but instead asked a nonsensical question. Sengoku frowned. Which aspect do you describe? Every aspect. Garp looked at Sengoku. Then, facing Garp's words, Sengoku couldn't help but fell into deep thought. In every aspect. First of all, strength. Your grandson Layfon is naturally too strong. At this age, he has such terrifying strength, which can be said to be a rare example that has been rarely seen in the sea for hundreds of years. Talent, of course, needless to say. If it weren't for the terrifying ultimate talent, it would be impossible for your grandson to have mastered such an unimaginable level of strength at the age of 7. As for ability, I can't judge yet. All in all, regardless. Just looking at his talent and strength, this is a rare and terrifying genius monster. It is Marine who must strive to absorb Marine's goal no matter what. Sengoku spoke very sincerely. He did not hesitate to praise Layfon in his words. Sengoku certainly has a high eye. Only, Layfon's talent is higher than Sengoku's imagination. That's why Sengoku's evaluation of Layfon is so rare. Sengoku, it seems that you have admitted that my grandson Layfon is a once-in-a-century genius. Garp's mood became extraordinarily comfortable. The feeling of being admitted face to face that his grandson is a very good genius simply made Garp deeply intoxicated and unable to extricate himself from it. In particular, this person admitted that his grandson was a genius in front of his own face. Still rival Sengoku. That puts Garp in a better mood. It's really rare. From your point of view, Sengoku would describe a person like this. This insidates that, my Garp's grandson, what a terrific genius. Advertisement. Many thoughts were caught by Garp. Under Sengoku's gaze, Garp slowly explained, my purpose is to create momentum for my grandson Layfon. Building momentum. Sengoku's pupils shrank, a bit unexpected. What's the meaning? What momentum? Explain in detail. Sengoku pondered. It can be regarded as giving this kid a little pressure. Young people have no pressure, so what is the motivation? Only when the pressure is sufficient will it turn into motivation. This turmoil in Marineford is naturally something I would like to see. Of course, I didn't do it on purpose. I don't have such great ability yet. I just hoped so. Unexpectedly, it really developed in the direction I thought in my heart. After this incident, presumably, Layfon's name can be regarded as a prestigious existence in Marineford. And that's my main purpose. As for this prestige, whether this kid can maintain it depends on his own good luck. Garp's expression was full of exclamation. That is to say. Are you pushing him? Sengoku frowned. This is what he understood. Basically, while building momentum for him, it can also be regarded as squeezing his potential, allowing him to develop a more terrifying potential to solve these cumbersome difficulties. Quote exclamation mark quote. Layfon, his potential is far more than that. Garp's eyes twinkled. Garp, what are you talking about in your sleep? Sengoku looked suspicious. What the hell? The meaning of your words is that your grandson Layfon, at the age of 7, has such a level of strength, isn't it the limit? What are you kidding? Garp, you don't have a fever, do you? Only 7 years old, not only has mastered Conqueror's Haki, but also has good sword skills, Grandmaster Marine 6 styles. These horrifying feats of the world have come to your eyes. Isn't it the limit? Sengoku has been whining. What's the situation? He stared at Garp in horror, unable to speak for a while. He wanted to ask, what kind of monster is your grandson? Was it really you who gave birth? You Garp can have such a freak grandson. Or, this is what you picked up from Garp. If it was picked up, then I would like to know. Where did you pick up the grandson of such a monster? Can I find it again in that place? I was suddenly a little impulsive, and wanted to pick up a monster grandson and come back to raise the heir of martial marine. Sengoku, don't you believe it? Next, you will believe it. Under the interference of such severe external conditions, this kid will definitely inspire even more terrifying talents. He will become stronger at an unimaginable speed. Become stronger at a speed far beyond our imagination. Somehow, Garp has such a lot of confidence. Feel endless trust in Layfon. If it's someone else, maybe it can't be done. Only Layfon can do it. You really have high hopes for your grandson, B. Sengoku saw Garp's thoughts and couldn't help feeling deeply moved. Rarely does Garp have such confidence in a person. But this time, Sengoku saw it. Of course, it will be a good seedling of Admiral in 5 years. This is my grandson. My grandson. He is an out-and-out peerless genius. Garp laughed loudly, Sengoku was speechless. Fine, as long as you are happy. Who made you have a monster grandson? We have nothing to say. Why don't we have a monster grandchild? After a pause, Sengoku continued to ask. So, how do you plan to deal with the current turmoil in Marineford? You don't want to tell me that you haven't prepared anything, do you? The movement of Marineford naturally had to cool down. Even if Garp doesn't move, Sengoku will press directly. He just wanted to see if Garp was already prepared. He also wanted to see what kind of arrangements and plans Garp had made for this. It's easy. Facing Sengoku's question, Garp answered truthfully, I plan to come forward directly and give everyone a letter of approval. Let them, they can make their doubts public. Advertisement. It's a big challenge. It is a challenge to vent all their inner dissatisfaction and anger openly. This made Sengoku even more puzzled. Big challenge. What do you mean? You may have seen Sengoku's doubts. Garp then made detailed introductions one after another. In short, I will personally come forward and hold a public challenge for Layfon. Now in Marineford, not everyone is questioning why a 7-year-old can be a Marine ensign. Next, I will let them feel it. Why can a 7-year-old be a Marine ensign? Of course it's because of having absolute strength as the prerequisite basis. As for how to convince them that this kid, Layfon, is very powerful. It's very simple. Let them challenge. Let all those who are dissatisfied, who have doubts, everyone can try to challenge Layfon. In this way, they will naturally know whether Layfon's strength is qualified for Marine ensign. Certainly, challengers are limited to those below Vice Admiral. Even Rear Admiral can be straight. Go face to face with Layfon. After Garp finished speaking, below Vice Admiral, is Rear Admiral, and then to Commodore. Rear Admiral, has been infinitely close to the status of Vice Admiral. Garp's remarks made Sengoku dizzy. He was immediately confused by Garp's words. Vice Admiral below casual challenge. Is this serious? I remember you didn't say that your grandson Layfon is only at the level of Commodore. Then if you let someone at the Rear Admiral level challenge him, wouldn't he be sure to lose? Sengoku said he couldn't understand. The strength is only Commodore, how to meet the challenge of Rear Admiral? Isn't this a must-lose? Sengoku, what I told you is all about the old calendar. What I'm saying is, when this kid first came to Marineford, he only had the strength of a Commodore. But in a few days, who knows how strong he will become. What I want is this motivation and a sense of urgency. To force this kid not to be lazy and slack, to constantly squeeze his own potential and become stronger quickly. Only in this way, can this kid hit the Admiral's throne at the fastest speed. Otherwise, what will become Admiral in 5 years? Garp's eyes twinkled expectantly. You are really? Sengoku spoke for a while. This is too crazy. That kid is only 7 years old this year, can he really withstand these pressures? Sengoku wanted to say it. That kid is so sad. With a grandpa like you. This is simply not treating children as human beings. Crushing child labor. Simply hateful. I'm going to let this challenge brew for 3 days. During these 3 days, let things ferment and become more and more magnificent. It's also just right. Layfon can have 3 days of growth. Let him feel the fierce competition atmosphere carefully. 3 days later. Come on after Vice Admiral. As long as there is one person who can defeat this kid Layfon, then I will immediately revoke the official title and status of this kid Layfon Marine Ensign. Garp continued on. 3 days. Are you sure? Sengoku looked suspicious. 3 days. Exaggerated. You let a person whose strength is only at the Commodore level, within 3 days, raise his own strength to the strength level of Rear Admiral. What a joke. Anyway, Sengoku thinks, this matter is very suspenseful. If it's Layfon, he can really do it, it's not blowing. Garp laughed. Furthermore, isn't there still Kizaru? I remember, you have told Kizaru to teach Layfon swordsmanship, right? 3 days, under Kizaru's teaching. I can be 100% sure that with the terrifying talent Layfon possesses, his strength will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Heard the words. Sengoku also wanted to dissuade. Having said that, needless to say, it's decided. Sengoku, when did you become such a mother-in-law? One more thing, my grandson Layfon's talent is more terrifying than Sengoku's imagination. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. At Garp's strong insistence, this matter has been finalized in this way. Advertisement.